Testing 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Notice to the public, if you wish to address the council, please complete the public wishing to address the council form located on either end of the counter and give it to either the chairman or the council clerk prior to the beginning of the meeting. All comments must be addressed to the council as a whole. Addressing individual council members or staff is not allowed. Speakers should be courteous in their choice of words and actions, and comments shall be limited to the issue and cannot involve individuals or staff-related matters. All cell phones and electronic devices used for communication should be silenced for the duration of the meeting. And I'd like to call the meeting of the Terrebonne Parish Council on Wednesday, October 16th to order. We will have the invocation and pledge of allegiance by Councilman Brian Pledger. Please rise.
Heavenly Father, we ask that you give us wisdom, guidance, knowledge, and understanding to be able to make the decisions for the people of Terrebonne Parish. Furthermore, we ask that you bless the people of this nation, this state, and this beautiful parish of Terrebonne. These and many other blessings we ask in your darling Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Pledger. Ms. Alicia, may we have a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Pleasure, Mr. Harding, Mr. Voisin, Mr. Amity,
Here.
Mr. Champagne, Mr. Hamner, Mr. Babin, Ms. Chauvin, Mr. Trusclair, Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum present.
Thank you, ma'am. Before we get started, I just want to recognize some of the people that's in the meeting this evening. We have former parish president and current CPRA chairman, Mr. Gardy Dove, sitting in the back there. Welcome. Former state representative, Mr. Tanner McGee. Tanner, it's always good to see you. Former parish school superintendent, Mr. Philip Martin. Former parish councilman, Mr. Gerald Michel, all the way in the back. Is Mark Black still here? Got a lot of faces out there. I saw him earlier. Former councilman. All right. Approve the minutes of the regular council session held on September 10th, 2024. Moved by Mr. Harding. Second by Ms. Chauvin. Members, vote your machines. Eight yeas. Motion carries. Distribute the minutes of the regular council session held on September 25th, 2024 has been done. Approve accounts payable bill list for 9/30/2024, 10/7/2024, and 10/14/2024. Moved by Mr. Pleasure, second by Mr. Harding. Members, vote your machines. 9 yeas, 0 nays. Motion carries. Item 1, general business. A proclamation proclaiming October 28th and 29th, 2024 as Louisiana Retired Teachers Association Days in home of Terrebonne. And I'm privileged to be able to read this. City of Houma, Louisiana, Parish of Terrebonne, a proclamation. Whereas Louisiana's retired teachers have devoted their careers to the education and training of tens of thousands of Louisiana's youth, and whereas Louisiana's retired teachers represent the profession which is given the basic responsibility for launching the careers of state and national leaders and for laying the foundation for the welfare of all members of our society. And whereas the Louisiana Retired Teachers Association, LRTA, acts as the voice of the retired education community, representing its interests by monitoring, protecting, and improving the benefits needed to secure dignity, independence, and quality of life. And whereas the LRTA will be hosting their 2024 State Fall Meeting in Houma, Louisiana with the slogan, all right, you're telling me French now. I said, Laissez LRTA Roulette. All right. And whereas Terrebonne Parish would like to recognize the LRTA and its membership for their ongoing investment and support for local teachers and local communities. And now therefore be it resolved that the Terrebonne Parish Council, on behalf of the Parish President Jason W. Bergeron and the entire Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government, hereby proclaims the days of October 28th and 29th, 2024 as Louisiana Retired Teachers Association Days in Homa Terrebonne, and at the LTRA state fall meeting, attendees will be welcomed and commended for their continuing dedication to their profession and to their communities while attending this year's meeting. It's signed by Parish President Jason Bergeron and myself as Council Chairman John Amade. Who's going to be receiving this? Ms. Dusenberry? Coming up, Clyde?
All of y'all come up. Joan, Riley, Philip.
How we get everybody that's here?
We got,
Poor fellow don't know. Hey, Kim, poor fellow don't know. Talking to himself. Oh, shit, right. Right.
I talked to my husband and said, he goes, did he forget?
Yeah, I already showed him. Yeah, he, you know, I showed it, wrote it when he came up to the living room.
On behalf of the LRTA and the TRTA,
Pull the mic down a little bit, Ms. Dusenberry.
I thought it was like a pickup. On behalf of the LRTA and the TRTA, we're so pleased that you have written this for us, and we thank you very much for all of your hard work. And everybody I know has pitched in and is doing some stuff for us, and we appreciate it very, very much. Thank you.
Hang on, don't run away.
Okay.
Any council members wish to make any statements before I do?
I'll go first.
Mr. Hamner?
I really appreciate the council doing this for the Louisiana Association of Retired Teachers. Yeah, it's like the resolution says, it's the advocacy group for retired teachers, building quality of life and making sure that their benefits in retirement are well taken care of. They are a major player in Baton Rouge and in the legislature. You know, this convention that's coming to Terrebonne, it's a shining example of tourism at its finest. You know, we have sought out help from a lot of local businesses and entities. South Down Museum, the African American Finding Our Roots Museum, the Military Museum, Terrebonne Parish Library is putting on a special event for us on the Monday. Different restaurants are giving specials to LRTA members, and one of the things that we did, you know, to get people out there in downtown Homa is instead of a luncheon at the hotel and having everybody there, we're giving them 2 hours to go out into the community and see downtown Homa and spend money in restaurants and get a good view of our local culture. Chauvin Shrimp Factory is graciously giving us a great deal on some local shrimp from America. And, you know, we have it, you know, in South Louisiana, you got to have an after party. So when the convention ends after the banquet on Tuesday night, well, when they wake up on Wednesday morning, they come into a shrimp boil and I can't tell you, we got the famous cane breakers coming to play for us for our banquet. We turned it into a dinner dance, and yeah, that's just a few things and a few other surprises that I even forgot about. You know, and plus we'll be taking care of business too, as a retired organization that's so active. Joyce, Karen, y'all want to add on?
I just want to thank our president, our state president, who is representative of Terrebonne Parish, Mr. Clyde Hamner, has done a fantastic job in getting this here and then getting it all together. And we appreciate everything that the parish is doing, and thank you very much.
Yes, indeed.
Hang on, we're not done yet, guys.
Okay.
Councilman Champagne?
Yeah, I just want to commend the Teachers Retirement Association. My mom was a teacher for 35 years, and I saw the benefit that she had upon her retirement. So thanks for being a great steward of their funds.
Thank you, Mr. Champagne. And then from the chair, again, I want to thank all of you for the work that you do. We tell people all the time, if you don't put your voice out there, then the change can't be implemented. And, you thought that when you retired, you were probably done, but now you've learned that you're not. And there are always things that you can do. Looking over my lifetime, I can name many of the teachers that impacted me. I'm sure some of them are surprised to see where I'm at. Not that I was a bad kid. I mean, I could count on one hand the times I got in trouble, but and it was for goofing off. But the impact that you have on people's lives, you really direct people into what they're going to do throughout their lifetime. So for all of you, I appreciate the fact that you're continuing to serve, that at retirement it didn't just stop there, but that you're continuing to serve. So again, thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Hamner, for bringing this into our town, into our parish, and enjoy the shrimp. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.
All right. Item B is presentation of the proposed 2025 parish budget and 5-year capital outlay budget by the parish president. We're going to hear a budget message. Unfortunately, just for the people to know, Mr. Bergeron had some outside business that he was taking care of, and he hadn't been able to get back from that. So I think we're watching the
Evening.
video presentation.
It is an honor to submit our proposals for the 2025 Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government Financial Budget for your review. This is a balanced budget that represents administration's commitment to providing exemplary services and quality of life programs to our residents. The financial budget totals $269.8 million and contains $16.7 million operating capital and 5-year capital outlay. For comparison, the original 2024 adopted budget totaled $251.1 million with $15.4 million in operating capital and capital outlay. Administration faced a number of challenges while developing this 2025 budget, which included increase in operating expenditures and decrease in operating revenue. Operating expenditures started to see an increase in 2024, which included increases in the maintenance of parish facilities and infrastructure, as well as an increase in insurance premiums and health insurance claims. Just like our residents, the parish is also facing the inflation impact on cost of goods and services. In comparison, operating expenditures increased 7.5%, and comparing the 2025 proposed budget to the 2024 original budget, the largest decline in operating revenue is related to sales tax collections, video poker revenue, and state mineral royalties. For sales tax, the amount of collections projected for 2024 is a decrease of 1.86% compared to 2023 collections. Video poker and state mineral royalties are projecting a decrease of 5.34% and 12.57% respectively for the same comparison period. With these challenges in mind, this proposed budget was prepared using a conservative and responsible approach. All parish leaders had input on their departmental budgets, and several significant cost-saving measures have been implemented. All departments reduced expenditures and eliminated open positions that would not impact the services provided to citizens. Revenues are proposed at essentially the same as 2024 projections. The proposed budget anticipates using fund balance/net position to offset the shortfall of revenues over expenditures. Administration is dedicated to developing strategies to improve departmental efficiencies and cost savings. This dedication is presented throughout the 2025 proposed budget with the reorganization of several departments. While there are limitations to funding the operations and maintenance of the parish, there are several increases in funding sources available for projects. These include funding from State Capital Outlay, Restore Act, American Rescue Plan, and various grants. The parish continues to recover from catastrophic disaster of Hurricane Ida on August 29, 2021, and the impacts from Hurricane Francine on September 11, 2024. Administration is actively pursuing various funding sources to assist the recovery process and will continue to do so until all needs are met. I'm pleased to submit this balanced budget, even in the face of challenging times. This was accomplished with the support of each department. We will continue to be vigilant in our spending practice, monitor economic indicators, and take decisive action when warranted. Because of these united practices, we were able to continue and provide great services to our residents. In closing, it is an honor to serve as your parish president. I would like to thank the parish council, my administration, employees, and residents of our community. Through open communication and transparency, we will continue to empower individuals and teams to be successful in moving Terrebonne Parish forward.
Thank you, Mr. Parish President. I think I saw former Councilman John Navy enter the room. Mr. Navy. Now with the American Red Cross, thank you for all the work that you're doing there, sir. Item B is consider the introduction of the 2025 proposed budget, ordering the publication of a summary of same as per section 5-02 of the Home Rule Charter, referring the proposed budget to the Budget and Finance Committee for review, and calling a public hearing on Wednesday, October 30th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. Moved by Mr. Pledger, second by Mr. Harding. Members, vote your machines. Nine yeas, 0 nays, motion carries. Item C, resolution to award the request for proposal RFP for employee benefits producer of record for Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government's employee benefits. Ms. Neal.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. This came up this morning in conversation. I wanted to inform the council, and I sent an email as well this morning, that there is a protest now pending on this item. So it will be my advice to the council to either pull this item, to give the legal department time to respond to the protest. And they're all also, while researching this matter today, I did come across in the code, you'll find under code section 2-229, agent of record, under part B. Our code requires us to put this before the council and get approval by ordinance. And unfortunately, this was sent to you by resolution. So this was something that I discovered recently this afternoon while I was continuing my research. So this resolution is actually improper before you. So that's probably another reason that the council should pull this from the agenda tonight. I know I do see some people in the audience that, and also I did see some speaker cards that were filled out. I think that the chairman is probably gonna let the public have their piece about this item. But ultimately, it is my advice that the council make no comment in the meantime, pending the protest response. And also that it needs to be taken off or pulled, because we're gonna have to bring this back as an ordinance to you.
So, Ms. Neal, it's your recommendation on the fact that it should have been an ordinance that we can't take any action on this?
That, and also the fact that there's a protest. The protest halts all action on something like this, and until the protest is resolved, the council and even the administration will not be able to make an award on the resolution.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Neal. Mr. Trosclair?
Well, I'm still going to introduce a substitute motion. And my motion is going to read to extend the contract of the current holder of the contract, Alfred Associates, of current employee benefits producer of record of the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government Employees Benefits for 1 year with 2 years options to follow. I think this this motion is going to make the protest null and void because they're the ones that filed the protest because of the way it was handled. So I ask that, we take a vote on extending this contract.
Second the motion. You need the second.
All right, so based on all the legal challenges, Ms. Neal,
I don't.
turn your mic back on.
I did hit okay, there he is. I recommend that the council not approve that motion tonight. There is an RFP and there is a protest that is pending in this matter. Now, the RFP that's before the council, if the council were to change the award before the protest was properly vetted and put the name of a company who has not been recommended as the most advantageous by the administration to the council, you could suffer some type of blowback in legal terms for arbitrary action. There's got to be something to substantiate the award under the RFP. Now, later on, if the council wants to, when the ordinance comes back before the council and the council wants to shoot that ordinance down, that obviously is the council's option to do so. But in order to do this while we have a pending protest and a pending letter of intent, I think that you're going to get into the area of some type of arbitrary conduct. And I fear that this is going to bring on some type of litigation from the companies who were ahead in the score sheet before the company that you want to put up for this contract tonight.
Okay, my motion is to extend the existing contract. It's not to change the contract.
I think it has the same effect. It has the same effect as if you would make the motion to substitute the new company instead of the one that was offered by the administration. So it's really getting around the fact that there's an RFP, and it could be considered subterfuge to get around that and the proper legal and council actions that need to be taken on this RFP. It's just kind of like coming at it at a different angle, but it all means the same thing.
Well, my motion stands, and if this second stands, I say we vote on it.
Mr. Hamner?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, Ms. Neal, but I think you're referring to that it has to be a resolution to hire the recommended consultant. Well, maybe I'm misinterpreting what you're saying, but I do disagree with you. If we push back the decision to implement changes in the medical plan, our options, y'all, are going to become increasingly limited. For PBM, for instance, you need a 90-day implementation period to ensure that there's limited disruptions in the to employees. And I'm sure that both the broker that's being recommended and the company that we currently have, the broker we currently have both been working with vendors and carriers to implement cost containment options to hedge against increases. But if we postpone this tonight, guys, we're gambling with an increase in the cost of our insurance program next year. I can almost guarantee you from the experience I have previously with Terrebonne Parish school system of dealing with RFPs and insurance, that if you wait this long in the year, insurance is going to go up. The bottom line is going to go up, and we're going to be responsible for it. And I say, let's vote this over and get this over with, because if we don't, come November 1st, the strategies that both the companies have are going to be out the window. They're going to be out the window. There are pharmacists here that can tell you the same thing with their PBMs. There are other insurance brokers here that can tell you the same thing. It will undoubtedly cause an employee disruption in employee benefits and major increases in Terrebonne Parish consolidated government's bottom line. I'm not willing to risk that up here tonight because we don't know. It's a gamble.
I also want to point out that, and I know that you wanted to just vote to extend the contract, but the ordinance that we have in the code says that the agent for producer of record has got to be appointed and got to be approved by ordinance on an annual basis. So if you do by resolution tonight, it will have no effect. It's got to be an ordinance that comes before you to get that accomplished.
Well, we can vote tonight. Excuse me, I'm out of line here, but we can vote tonight and have an ordinance on the 30th.
So I would recommend that you just, the ordinance needs to be submitted to the council. If you vote tonight to extend the contract, it'll have no effect because the agent has to be approved on an annual basis by ordinance. And this is a resolution that's before you tonight. And I know that's not what you wanted to hear, council, but that's what the code says, and I do need to advise you of that.
Mr. Lee?
So, Ms. Michelle, just correct me if I'm wrong here. We do have a protest. We would change it up here. That would open us up to a lawsuit, which would still stop us from being able to move forward anyway. If the company that we would award tonight would decide to sue, so we would be stuck with our hands tied regardless.
Right. I can't predict anybody or if anybody will file action, but if the council takes this action while the protest has not been resolved, it could potentially open you up for legal action. I can't say whether or not any companies would sue. I think that there are 4 or 5 companies that were given scores better than Alfred and Associates for this particular RFP. So any of those companies could potentially bring action. I can't say that they would, but I wouldn't be able to stop them.
Mr. Charles Clare?
Okay, but my motion is still on the floor, and we can't stop anyone from filing suit against the parish for anything.
Correct.
Okay, so, if we're gonna worry about somebody suing us, we're not gonna get anything done in the parish. So my motion's still on the floor, and if my second's still there, I say we vote on it, and then we'll let our legal department deal with what they gotta deal with.
Thank you, Mr. Charles Clare. Mr. Harding?
Yes, and he has several speaker cards on here. I'm pretty sure that I would like to hear from the speaker cards.
They will.
On the order?
Yes, sir.
Okay, according to Robert's rules of order. I'm sorry. Robert's rules of order, an amended motion can't be debated. So if we do call anybody up, they can only discuss the original motion.
That's what they signed for. All right, so I do have several speaker cards. First up, and when you get to the podium, please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes to speak. Should your time run out and you have a few more things to say, we will give you an additional minute. First one is Mr. Josh Alford.
Hey everyone, my name's Josh Alford and I live at 407 Ardon Drive, Houma, Louisiana, 70360. And so I'm with Alford and Associates and we are the current broker. First of all, at this point in the year, I think Mr. Clyde made the point where any changes that would be made to the medical plan, most medical carriers, if not all, need a window of time to implement those changes. So your choices are dwindling. I know by shopping out the market that we've lost the opportunity at one PBM that brought better options to the table that we could have negotiated with that needs a 90-day window. So that one's gone. And then as far as the RFP, we all received perfect scores across every every point that they had to score, except for the commissions. And we make roughly about $250,000 a year on your account. The broker that is being suggested makes 50. And if you would have been given that information and voted on that information in 2016, when we first took over the account from that said broker, you would have made the wrong decision, because their fixed cost was also $600,000 more than our fixed cost. And let me just tell you what we've done, because I'm very proud of the work we've done. I'm very proud of the team that I have back here, because I wouldn't be able to do it without them. Your renewal in 2016 with disability, life, max liability on medical, and dental was almost $24 million. With those same numbers, max liability, disability, life, dental, you're at $18,400,000. So I don't even understand why administration would recommend, with only 1.5% of the budget in front of you. You have 98.5% of that budget to consider with no numbers in front of you. When we did this in 2016, you had the entire gambit in front of you. And by every metric, we have come in lower on all of those metrics: fixed cost, max liability, and we brought unique things to the table. That's why we have some local pharmacies here to speak for us, because we
Motion to
Hold,
extend.
hold on, Mr. Josh. We have a motion to extend by Mr. Pleasure, second by Mr. Harding. Members, vote your machines. Nine yeas, 0 nays. We'll get the mic back on for you. When it turns green, you're good to go. There you go.
All right. So one of the unique things we brought to the table, and what helped us win the bid and overall lowest net cost, is that we did lower copays at the local pharmacies, because access to care in this community is important to us. We all live in this community. 20 employees in my office live and work in this community, and these pharmacies are being railroaded by the large PBMs. So we wanted to steer business their way. So that's one of the things. And because of that, we saved $1.5 million in the first year, with 10,000 more prescriptions filled than the year prior. And then the other unique thing we did 2 years later is we brought a retiree carve out to the table, where retirees pay $0 in any medical expenses, and they only pay minimum copays for their drugs. That shifted your highest cost population off of your plan and onto the federal government. And that's why your claims are the same, if not lower, than they were 8 years ago. I would like to know if anyone in this room is paying less for health insurance than they were 8 years ago. Because does anybody?
No.
Okay. Well, y'all are paying $6 million less than y'all were 8 years ago. And so to look at someone's commissions and make a determination on a total budget is just not the right way to do it. Because if you did that in 2016, you wouldn't be where you are today. And if you did that in 2016, you would have paid $600,000 more in fixed cost than you did with us, including our commissions. So you have very limited information, and also you do have high claims this year that we need to get ahead of. And we have cost containment measures that we've shopped out and we can implement, but those things have to be implemented by November 1st so that you can avoid disruption to your employees, because this is not like property and casualty insurance. You cannot sign the night before and have insurance in place. Every one of your employees is touched by this insurance. They have to pick up their prescriptions January 1st. They have to file a disability or life claim. The disability and life, we just doubled the retiree life insurance from $10,000 to $20,000 last year. We went from $2,500 on employee spouse to $20,000, and we saved money and we locked those rates in for 3 years. So that's what you're giving to the other broker who did not do that work. And you would not be where you are today if we would not have done those unique things that we brought to the table. So it is a very small thing that they're asking y'all to look at and make a decision based off of. There are a million other points, data points, and cost contributors that you have to make an informed decision about. And again, I'm passionate about this because I'm proud of the work we've done. And bottom line, you are better by every metric than when we took over in 2016. And we have more work to do because there are new tools available where we can hedge against future claims. And right now, we're about to miss that deadline to implement that with little disruption to your employees. And so, yes, it is very important for you to make a decision tonight because you're going to miss out on that opportunity.
I think you
And
could.
so we're going to either pay much more because one of the things we're talking about is a specialty RX carve out that some people are guaranteeing a $700,000 savings next year, guaranteeing. So it could be more. And do you know what that does to your reinsurance rates? It drives them down because they know they're on the hook for $700,000 less. That's just one thing that we've vetted that this administration is not interested in hearing about, I guess, at this point. And so how are we going to make a decision with that and create that savings and roll it out to the employees so that there's very little disruption? It's very, very important. And I think I've given you pretty much all this data. I have my office there with the backup data that we used to put on these spreadsheets. We've checked them, triple checked them. And again, by every metric, you're better off than you were 8 years ago when we took over this account from the broker you're trying to give it back to. Thank you.
Josh. Hang on just a second.
Yes, sir.
I have two lights. Are your questions for Mr. Alford? Mr. Pleasure?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Pleasure has a question for Josh.
Thanks, Mr. Chair, and thanks, Mr. Alford, for your comments. But I jotted down something here. I want to make sure that I heard it correct. You guys do have, and going forward, you guys do have some sort of implementation of a cost savings to hedge what we ran into this year with more claims.
Yes, sir. So we had a huge spike in pharmacy claims this year, about a 25% spike in pharmacy claims, and that's due to some additional cancer drugs, and we have a way to hedge against that going forward. You can't necessarily implement these cost-saving measures in the middle of the year without major disruption to your employees. And so that's something we really excel at. We have it in place in other municipalities, other municipality in or another government body in Terrebonne Parish, and we've been very successful with it. And another thing, just to let you know, we cover the market every single year. So we also have United Healthcare. We have other TPAs that you never heard of. We have other reinsurance carriers that we go to. And we have all of this spreadsheeted out and compared so that you know we're doing our due diligence every year. We're not beholden to any one company. And that is very important to us. And our track record shows it because we first put you with Gilsbar, and then we took you to United Healthcare, and now you're with Blue Cross. And guess what? If another deal comes where it's better than Blue Cross, or another reinsurance company comes, we're going to change you again. Or if there are service issues, we're going to change them out and get the service provider we need. So that is our commitment to you, is we're not beholden to any one carrier. And again, our track record shows that.
Thank you, Mr. Alford. Our next speaker is Mr. Robert
Thank you.
Rock. You had a question for Alfred?
Yes, sir.
All right. Hang on just a second, Mr. Rock. Go ahead, Mr. Wazan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening. So y'all service to the parish obviously must be important to y'all and your business and your family, correct?
Yes, sir. That's why half of our office, or 75% of it, is here today.
Yeah, because the things you talked about, as far as I can understand it, what, approximately 8 years ago, y'all got this contract?
Yes, sir. Going into our 8th year.
And when y'all received it, what company did y'all replace?
We replaced United Healthcare with Gills Bar, and we also did a PBM carve out, which is your pharmacy benefits manager, and that's how we steered business to local pharmacies. But also is important to us not to punish people for going to big box stores like they were doing. So we kept those copays the same and lowered them to reward people for going local. Because if we can support local tax-paying businesses, I think that's something a municipality should do. And we still saved $1.5 million in that first year. So my question is, why wasn't that done before us? Also, why wasn't the Medicare carve-out done before us? And so we've done the heavy lifting. And now there's, again, more work to be done. It's a fluid situation. And we're willing to do it, and we have the options to talk about it and to implement it.
Okay.
And we have to make those informed decisions with those, everything comes with a cost and a disruption. So you have to weigh that. I mean, saving money is not the number one thing when it comes to employee benefits. You have to weigh out how it affects each and every employee.
And the 8 years y'all have had this contract and maintained the same premiums and better coverage for the parish.
$6 million less.
Yes, sir. Thank you for stipulating. Have y'all ever had an issue as far as a reprimand, any type of negatives dealing with parish business and parish insurance? Have y'all received any negatives at all from the administration or, anything?
Yes, sir. So the few issues that we've had are communication. And, I think as much as we can be involved, we want to be involved. I can tell you, Terrebonne Parish Sheriff's Office, I know almost every employee and every issue they've ever had because I've been involved in it and or my office has been involved in it. So it helps us as a broker to be on the ground level in every issue so that we can form a better plan going forward. Because again, if a provider is not doing something that they're supposed to be doing, it's our job to hold them accountable. And if they're not held accountable, it's our job to get rid of them and replace them. And so that has been a little bit of a struggle, and we would like to be more involved so that we can do our job more effectively to be a better advocate for the employees and find them better products. Because, again, some products are the same price. It's all about what the service is or so on and so forth. I mean, there's so many variables that we weigh out. With us, we put everything on a spreadsheet, but I'm not necessarily going to recommend to you the lowest cost because I'm going to tell you that company is a pain to deal with. And so we need to go to this next most competitive quote, but ultimately it's the client's decision. They see everything, we're transparent about everything, and then ultimately it's their decision.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, y'all been able to shop for the best bang for the buck, from what I see.
Yes, sir.
So, thank you, and appreciate it.
I appreciate your
Thank you,
question.
Mr. Chair.
We've had this out to market for the last 2 to 3 months. So we've actually been working on this diligently for the last 2 to 3 months, but obviously it's throughout the year that we do the work.
Thank you, Mr. Wazam. Thank you, Mr. Alford.
Yes, sir.
See no more. Ask him? Okay. While he's standing there, ask away.
Thanks again, Mr. Chair, Mr. Alford, for answering the questions that we might have. But just for clarity, just to make sure, because we're in the season of being able to cost save as far as the parish and taking care of our folks. But did you guys or did you guys not voluntarily reduce your commissions previously?
We absolutely did. So we actually won this RFP originally in 2016, saving $600,000 in fixed costs compared to the broker that you had before. We were charging $10 per employee per month when we won that. After we won that, with lowest net cost and lowest fixed cost, one of the council members came to my dad and Tony Alford and said, "Can y'all do it for $750?" And so, we appreciate the business. We're proud of the business. We went down to $750, even though we won the business and won the RFP based on $10. And then, most recently, Ryan came to me and asked us to go down further. And out of a gesture of goodwill, because we were locked into a contract, we did come down and we went down $2. So we went down to $5.50. So that also is kind of where the RFQ maybe took me by surprise. And again, the RFQ has hundreds across the board in every category, which I don't quite understand how firms from New Orleans get the same score as access to their office in that category. Not sure, maybe, I'm not sure. So they get the same score as someone located in Terrebonne Parish. And the only difference in our scores were based on commissions. And if that's the only thing you're going to look at, like I said, in 2016, you would have missed the ball big time.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alford. So I'm going to make a change, if it's okay with you, Mr. Rock, to let Mr. McGee come up next. Yeah, I was requested that.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tanner McGee, and I represent Alfred Insurance. I did want to clarify some things that I think you're giving a legal opinion that I strongly disagree with. First one is that I want to address the ordinance issue. It is in the statute that it requires full ordinance. However, a renewal, you've already adopted this contract by an ordinance when you accepted it last time, and there's a renewal clause in that contract that says no further ordinance is necessary. So under that rule, and it really is very specific in what she cited, which it says the terms and conditions, which means as long as you're adopting the terms and condition by ordinance, which this council already has, then there really isn't an issue there. So if you are moving forward with just renewing the previous terms and conditions, an ordinance is not necessary. You just need to express your will to sign on to renewal. That's the whole purpose of a renewal, is that it doesn't require the full thing. If everybody's happy, you just sign on and go. Second part of it, I think probably to me the more concerning part of it is this notion that somebody's going to sue you if you don't follow the scoring on an RFP. Well, this is a professional service contract. There's no rule that you have to take the lowest bid or make sure it refers to what the RFP says. The administration crafted the RFP, right? And I'll give you an example. They were free to write in there that all the insurance agents must drive blue trucks. They could have put that in there. It's their entire thing. And so they're going to score it, and they're going to say, well, Alfred Insurance has red trucks. Therefore, you can't approve it because the blue truck insurance company is going to sue you. My point being is they're crafting the RFP, and That's taking your authority away from you as council, because Article 5, Section 2109 says any contract requiring the cumulative expenditure of over $60,000 annually shall be approved by council resolution. This contract has to be ratified by you no matter what. And you're free to choose whichever one you want. And if you let the administration just decide that you have to play by their rules of the RFP they sent out, then they're taking away your authority to approve the contract, because anytime you don't approve it, you're opening yourself, quote unquote, to litigation, because they established the RFP. So as a legislative body, I wouldn't want my authority taken away from me by my administration crafting, without your approval necessarily, the RFP proposal. And I think when you look at the real world effects of it, Mr. Josh Alford hit it. This RFP specifically based it off of the commissions of the insurance agency and not on the total cost of the insurance itself. And actually, if you look in the statute that the parish's attorney had quoted to you about the agent of record, it says very clearly in there that you have to account for the economic interest of the parish when you're selecting it. So you have to look broader than that RFP and look towards the overall entire what is best and the economic interest. And I'll tell you another factor in there that's not being rated is Alfred Insurance is a local company employing local people, local jobs, local money. The other one that won the RFP that scored a winner is an out-of-parish insurance provider with the money leaving the parish, tax dollars leaving the parish to go employ people out of parish. So if your responsibility under your own charter and code is to look at the economic interest when doing this in your approval process, then I would submit to you, you are definitely opening up yourself to litigation when you're not choosing the one that's in the best economic interest of the parish. And I'm happy to answer any questions about that. I'm happy to talk about it any further, but I want to give you that, A, you have the authority to renew the contract without an ordinance tonight. Also, additionally, this notion that not picking somebody that's not in the RFP's top score is somehow opening up to a lawsuit. While that, I can sue anybody, right? Like I can sue Steve, Councilman Trosclair tomorrow just because I can do it. I mean, it doesn't mean it's a good lawsuit and it's going to have merit. I'm just saying there's much more legal factors involved in this other than did you pick the number one RFP based off of the rules set by the administration?
Ms. Neal?
Yes, sir. Look, I don't want to get into a legal argument with you tonight, Tanner, but I do want to say that your item on your agenda tonight does not say anything about renewing a contract. It says that you are picking the agent for producer of record. That's on your item tonight. You cannot go and add something to this contract that talks about renewing or extending a contract without having this on the agenda. The item says agent of record. Your ordinance in your code says you have to pick your agent of record annually by ordinance. So I'm going to again tell you that it's improper for you to substitute a motion to extend the contract when the item on the agenda says we're going to award an agent of record.
To be very
Now,
clear,
he
though,
is correct. The council does have to approve a contract for the agent of record. Now, no matter which way this goes tonight, it was going to have to come back before the council. So if Clessy would be picked as your agent of record, the contract for Clessy would still have to come before this council because you still have to approve the contract. The contract is not before the council tonight.
and I want to be very clear, and I don't want to be an argument either. It does not say you have to select your agent by ordinance. It literally says the terms and conditions, which is going to be the contract, has to be selected by full ordinance. It's actually Division C. A says you have to select one annually. It does not provide a method of how you have to select. It says the terms and conditions must be selected by full ordinance. That's exactly what it says. So I want to be very clear with you. It does not say that the agent of record has to be selected by full ordinance. It says the terms and conditions of that contract with the agent must. And that's a very important distinction for you.
We're still absent an ordinance. Yeah, I have it here if you want to read a copy of it. It says the terms and conditions of any arrangement with any agent of record or consultant shall be contractual and with full ordinance approval of same. That's right, but you have no ordinance before you, and an agent of record at all is always appointed by ordinance.
No, wait, no, I'm sorry, that's not what it says, and I'm trying to get in a legal debate with y'all, but it's not what it says. And it does not say that a agent has to be selected by full ordinance. It says the agreement has to be, which has been. When you adopted and you selected Alfred Insurance last time, you did it by full ordinance. In that ordinance, it said you can renew this without full ordinance. The words mean what they mean. I don't know how else to say it.
There's also the word annually in there, Tanner, and I have to disagree with you. It's
But the
got to be
annual
done
part's not in the
annually.
same category. It's not in the same section
So
as.
my recommendation is the same. My recommendation is the same.
I've got a point of order from this side first. Who made it?
I did. I just don't think it's appropriate for our attorney to be arguing a case and,
I don't think it's appropriate for people to be arguing, period.
well, I'm in a legal argument.
And my point of order was, I think both the attorneys made their points.
I agree with you. Yep.
Thank you.
I agree with Mr. Trusclair. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Tanner. Mr. Ropp. Please state your name and address for the record, sir, when you get to the podium.
My name is Robert Rock. My address is 4752 Highway 311, Suite 100 in Houma. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm acting as a healthcare provider. I've owned Haydale's Drugstore since 1980. When I first came to Terrebonne Parish in the mid-70s, there were roughly between 40 and 50 pharmacies, chain and independently owned operating businesses to serve the residents of Terrebonne Parish. Today, there's roughly 15 pharmacies that remain to provide these services. 10 are big box chains, and only 5 are independently owned pharmacies. 5. Many, especially the independent-owned pharmacies, have found it unable to sustain below-cost reimbursement contracts, which contain no negotiation power on the part of the pharmacy and provider. Also, they have a take it or leave it attitude and stance whenever you have a contract that is below your costs. Lots of times it's below cost and no dispensing fee. Now that's very important because Louisiana State Medicaid does a survey every year, and it's by an independent firm out of Oklahoma. We submit all our expenses, all our tax returns, all our information, and our revenue. They've determined a dispensing fee. Now, this is just for a bottle, a label, to unlock the door, to put the lights on, to hire our staff. It's $11.81. Some of these PBMs, through their greed, give us $0. Just this past year, 2 longtime independent pharmacies were shuttered as a result of this type of business model. They could no longer exist under these unfair contracts. However, we found the local insurance broker, Alfred and Associates, who's the current carrier. They understand the dilemma in healthcare and what we face every day. They've worked with the local independent and chains pharmacies to provide our ability to provide access to our patients for health care. That's your employees, our patients, and your constituents. Alfred and Associates has proved to be a transparent, sustainable business model for the patients to select the provider of choice, and that's usually based on service. It doesn't take 6 vice presidents to decide whether to turn on the light switch in the office. We've had occurrences where in any occasion when there's been a change, there's hiccups. Well, everybody has hiccups. There were hiccups with Alfred, but they were a valuable asset to immediately resolve the issues in a timely and reasonable manner. They ensured the patients received their drug therapies without delay and at a fair and negotiated reimbursement rate. It was not like wait 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and go without the medication, and then they tell the doctor what he can prescribe and can't prescribe. Thank you.
All right, next speaker card is Mr. Min Nguyen. Please
Thank you,
state your
Mr.
name and
Chairman.
address for the record.
All right. My name is Ming Nguyen. I live in 117 Betty Ruby Drive in Gray, Louisiana. I own Willowbark Pharmacy in Bayou Blue and Jack Bay. And I don't need to read this because Robert Rock, Josh Alford, and Tanner McGee has mentioned everything I needed to say on this. I can just throw this away. Most important thing I want to stress is locals, serving locals, serving locals. And they can't do that, whoever's trying to bid against us, because we got a proven program and record of it. If they come in, we'll just have to start all over. But from here on out, if we stay with Alfred and Associates, we can only get better and correct the problems that we made, the mistakes that we made, or approach the problems that we're gonna face. I do want to point out that there is a national program, a national bill, is bipartisan support, both sides of the aisle, called Pharmacists Fight Back Bill, HR 9096, co-sponsored by Jake Auchincloss and Diana Harshberger. That bill will reimburse pharmacies costs plus 2% or $25, whichever is lesser, plus the dispensing fee that Robert Rock mentioned. The dispensing fee is what he said counts for the caps, the bottles, the vials, the label, the technician time, the pharmacist time, insurance, electricity, whatever costs you to run your pharmacy. The PBMs were not paying us anything, so that's why all these pharmacies are closing. You're looking at between Mr. Dean Pellegrin, Louis Spitali, Mr. Bourgeois, Southland Drug also sold, and Lloyd's, which is Aero Duplantis. That's close to 2,000 prescriptions a day. Where are all these prescriptions getting filled at every day now that they're gone? You got to keep us alive, save us, save our business so that we can continue to provide for everybody. That's all I have to say. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Nguyen. Ms. Chauvin, you have a question for Mr. Nguyen?
Yes. I
Mr.
had a
Nguyen,
question.
can you come back to the mic, please?
The bill number that you were talking about, can you say it again? HR?
It's HR 9096. It's nicknamed the Pharmacist Fight Back Bill by Jake Auchincloss and Diana Harshberger.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir. Before I call my next speaker, she snuck into the room on us just a minute ago. I want to recognize our former councilwoman of District 2, Miss Orlando Williams. Thank you for being here tonight. Mr. Michel, you're up.
Gerald Michel, 803 Douglas Drive.
No.
Good evening. Thank y'all for giving me the opportunity to speak. You just mentioned Miss Orlando Williams. Earlier you mentioned Mr. John Navy. Councilman Steve Trusclair and I were four of the council people who were on the council at the time this was passed. And it wasn't just about bringing Alfred and Associates on. It was about what they brought to the table. And there are two things that we need to look at. Number one is we want to continue. This parish has always had good healthcare service provided to the employees at a fee. Okay, and we want to continue that. There's no we of course want to continue that. And then at the same time, we want to be fiscally responsible and do it for as good a price as we can. So the one thing that I want to make sure this council realizes is that yes, we can go with a new broker, and that new broker sure will be able to take advantage of a lot of stuff that the current broker has already instituted. That can be done, and you know what? It's not a big deal. But I want you to understand that there are some things that have been done, specifically with the prescription drug program, that were incredibly complex. They went through all the trouble before they were even our brokers to understand that so they could come to us with something that would save us money. They got a PBM in here that not only said we would save money, but they guaranteed it on day one. And what I want to point out is while, yes, some of this savings will certainly be able to continue if it's under somebody else, some of it will not. And the bulk of that $6 million that we've saved, and nobody's heard of any insurance going down, and any premiums going down like they have for Terrebonne Parish, but the bulk of the $6 million that has been saved has been because of the PBM program, the way that it's set up, and the way that Alfred and Associates brought it to us. And to take that away from the parish could very well, and I believe absolutely will, reverse those savings. They saved us millions of dollars from day one. And so you can expect that, not next year, because I don't think there's any time to change, but the year after that, we're going to be hitting, it's going to be going up millions of dollars again. And then what's going to happen? The Terrebonne Parish employees are going to have higher premiums because that's the way it works. The premiums have to cover the expenses. And the claims have gone down over the last 6 years, and that's helped those employees. And that's what this is about. So yes, some of it can just roll right into another producer, but some of it cannot, and the cost will be astronomical. So I wanted to mention that to you. Mr. Trusclair said it before. We didn't agree on a lot, but we've always agreed on that. And I think it's one of the best things that we did in that council 2 councils ago. It's one of the best things we did for this parish fiscally, and we need to protect that. That's why I'm here today, is to let you know we need to protect that. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you have about it. I was very involved in working on a contract with Mr. Jules Hebert, who actually, you were there too. Well, the 3 of us were working on the weekend. Only 2 of us were getting paid, just for the record. But and then we worked for several hours on a Sunday afternoon, getting the I's dotted and the T's crossed for this contract, as well as I took a trip up to Natchitoches to visit with the PBM. And the thing that impressed me first and foremost with the PBM that we're using today is the man said, "You ask me anything, and I don't care what the answer is, or how good or bad it looks, I'm going to give you a straight answer on it." And he did. And so I think this is something that we need to preserve in this parish. Does anybody have any questions?
Not seeing any.
Thank you all so much. I appreciate y'all giving me the opportunity to speak my mind.
Thank you, Mr. Michel. Mr. Champagne.
Yeah, I guess I got a couple of things. First and foremost, I guess what I want to know what the implications are, whether it's resolution or ordinance. If it would have failed tonight, would the administration have to go back and start over with an RFP?
So can I, if you give me some leeway, I want to talk to you about the deadlines and the dates and how things would come back to the council, because tonight is not the only
Then
opportunity.
let me finish all my questions.
Yes, sir.
So because of the way the RFP was handled and the lack of information that was actually included for the council to digest before this meeting, there was no way that I was going to vote for it. It was just, there was a lack of information. So that being said, but in the ordinance that was passed last year, it says, whereas Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government is authorized to exercise right to renew the option for 2 one-year renewals, subject to the same terms and conditions of the original contract. The parties need not execute a new agreement to exercise the 2-year return terms. So tell me the impact of that. I mean,
Can you read the last? Because
I-
I know. I'm sorry, this wasn't brought to my attention, so I didn't have an opportunity to prepare for this. So the ordinance is what the ordinance is. It says exactly what you read, is authorized to execute to renew the option for 2 one-year renewals, subject to the same terms and conditions as the original contract. Parties need not execute a new agreement to exercise the 2. So yes, it does say that. However, if you look at the ordinance in the code, you can't just read one section of section 296 by itself. You've got to read it in paramateria. You've got to read it all together. And it does say, I'm sorry, I quoted you the wrong section. Section 229, agent of record. You've got to read the whole thing together, and it says that the parish has to appoint its agent of record on an annual basis. And it does say that you've got to go to ordinance to get contractual provisions approved. Yes, I agree. But I interpret that our agent of record has to be approved every year, no matter, if the contract is the same or not. So then what I want to talk to you also about is the deadlines that we have, and I want to put some dates in front of you. I think Alfred and Associates' current contract would expire if we don't renew at the end of December. So we heard that, and I didn't know this date before tonight, but November 1st is the deadline to get the new contracts for the benefits signed. So November 1st is right around the corner. If we go to this ordinance, because the parish has to resubmit to you on a Monday to reintroduce, which would probably be the 28th of November. We've got to hold it over for 2 weeks. So the next meeting, does that make 2 weeks or does that not make 2 weeks? I think it's November 5th is the next meeting on the Wednesday. I didn't look at the dates, but anyway, so the dates fall to where if the deadlines to sign the benefits package is November 5th, then we won't have a new agent of record. You know what I mean? We won't have the new agent of record. The ordinance won't even be done by the November 5th date. Is it an opportunity?
Can I just clarify?
Go ahead.
November 1st is not a set deadline. November 1st is an opportunity for you to implement cost-saving measures to better negotiate the reinsurance contract for next year, because some require a 90-day implementation period, some require 60. Some can be pushed a little bit tighter, but the problem you have is employee disruption if you go tighter on that deadline. So I'm not telling you you have a November 1st deadline to sign contracts. What I'm asking from this council tonight is for them to allow us to do our job and negotiate the contracts now and work with administration to implement these cost-saving measures so that they're not stuck with the numbers without the cost containment measures. Because if you're getting a big increase, like a $3 million increase, but I have a cost containment measure that's going to save $1 million, that has to be implemented now to get that cost down from 3 million to 2 million for next year.
So November 1st is not a hard deadline. Do you have any hard
It is not.
deadlines?
I think the week of Thanksgiving, but if you're going to make a change, again, I don't know how familiar you are with like self-insurance or health insurance, but you have to make like our January 1st accounts are making those decisions this week and next because you have employee impact to consider. And one other thing I just wanted to mention, the future unfunded liabilities that we saved this parish, it was $180 million, and we cut that in half into 80. So we saved the parish $80 million over the next 20 years because of our cost containment measures that we put in place. So thank you. Sorry to
No,
throw that
that's
in there, but
no, but thank you for
I
that. I
wanted to
thought that was a
clarify
hard
for you.
deadline. So my point is that this would come back before the council on the 28th, and at that time would be a good time for the council to express its opinions and vote at the time. So to prevent any fallback that could occur, I would recommend the council wait at least 2 weeks.
All right, Mr. Trosclair.
Okay, I got one little quick question, comment, and then I'm gonna ask that we vote. If this, according to our attorney, if this has to be voted on per ordinance, why is it introduced as a resolution tonight? Why, does our legal go over these proposals before they come to the council? Because if we fighting for a resolution versus ordinance, why is it listed on this deal that we were gonna vote on tonight as a resolution?
Yes, sir. I did say that this needed to be an ordinance before you and not a resolution, so it
You
was
said that
improper.
after the fact, because we came here tonight looking at this as a resolution, and it's been in my packet for roughly 4 days already as a resolution.
Yes, I did. Yes, you are correct. I did not research that until the issues came up today and the protest came up. So when the protest came up, that's when I started looking into the proposals, into the RFP that was issued, into the law. So
Okay.
this resolution came
My
to
point,
you.
I
It was
understand that you didn't know about it, but my point is, had nothing, no conflict, everything above the board, we'd have done this wrong tonight anyway.
That's right.
I have a problem with that. I mean, this is not the first time we've had this issue, and it looks like it's a recurring problem. And I ask that we vote. Thank you.
All right, so Mr. Trosclair calls the vote, so members, vote your machines.
Can you read the motion?
Yes, sir. So the substitute motion is to extend the existing contract with Alfred and Associates. Nine yeas, 0 nays, the motion carries. Mr. Babin, do you still wish to speak?
Yeah, I just want to make one statement that if time is an issue, this council can call a special meeting to address those particular issues if a time limitation is a problem. Just wanted to throw that in. Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion by Mr. Harding, seconded by Mr. Pleasure to go into 6:30 public hearings. We're gonna recess for just a moment for those that wish to leave the room so that everybody can
probably
do so
gonna do
without
is Get y'all an
disruption.
ordinance to make it official next week. Yes.
The ordinance says.
Guys, if you could, can y'all bring it out into the hallway, please? Yes. They're going.
Who's that? What? All right, let's see. Done with that.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys.
No, I
Danny Babin. Danny Babin. All right, 6:30 public hearings. Item A is an ordinance to amend the zoning map of the parish of Terrebonne so as to rezone R1 single-family residential to R2 two-family residential, 148 Square Wolf Lane, Terrebonne Parish, Louisiana. Karen Harris, applicant. First call for public. Second call for public. Third and final call for public. We have a motion to close by Mr. Trosclair, seconded by Mr. Pleasure. Members, vote your machines. Somebody step in the back room, tell Miss Tammy to come do her job. Do we need to vote again? All right. Members, vote your machines. Seven yeas. Motion to adopt, Mr. Trosclair. Second, Mr. Pleasure. Members, vote your machines. 7 yeas, 0 nays. Ordinance passes. Item B, an ordinance to amend the 2024 adopted operating budget of the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government for the following items and to provide for related matters. One, dedicated emergency fund, $3,639,860. Two, dedicated emergency fund, $13,546,442. Item three, dedicated emergency fund, $755,000. Item four, animal shelter, $7,919. Item five, animal shelters, $1,650. Item six, utilities, $543,390. Item seven, road lighting district number one, $40,000. First call public. Second call public. Third and final call public. We have a motion to close, Mr. Trosclair. Second, Mr. Pleasure. Members, vote your machines. Six yeas. So we have a motion to adopt by Mr. Trosclair, second by Mr. Champagne. Members, vote your machines. We'll give him one. 7 yeas, 0 nays. Ordinance is adopted. Item C, an ordinance to restructure Chapter 12 of the Terrebonne Parish Code and to enact regulations for the construction of borrow pits, ponds, and dirt mounds and to provide for related matters. First call public. Second call public. Third and final call public. We have a motion to close public by Mr. Trosclair. Second, Mr. Champagne. Members, vote your machines. Yes. Yes. We're getting to it. We have to deal with the public hearing and give people time to speak because it was advertised that way. All right, members, you're voting your machines on closing the public hearing. 8 yeas, 0 nays. So, Miss Neal.
Yes, thank you, sir. If you remember, there was an email that was sent out that changes were made to this ordinance. So if you have had a chance to review the ordinance, you'll see the highlighted changes that were made and sent to you. It should be in your backup. And if the council agrees with the changes, I would have the council vote to republish the ordinance as amended, call another public hearing, and adopt the revisions.
All right, so
Reintroducing.
you're recommending to republish as amended.
Yes.
What was the next thing?
Reintroduce, republish, and recall the public hearing. Reschedule.
All right, so Mr. Harding is making that motion to republish, reintroduce as amended. A second by Mr. Danny Babin. Members, vote your machines. All right, so we have 7 yeas, 1 nay, motion carries. We have a motion to go back into regular order by Mr. Harding, seconded by Mr. Trosclair. I think that's who that was. Members, vote your machines. Nine yeas, 0 nays. That motion carries. All right, so we're going to item 2, public wishing to address the council. A, Mr. Kellen Piku, owner of Mr. Ronnie's, wishes to address the council regarding the gas problem in Terrebonne Parish. Mr. Piku, please state your name and address again for the record, sir, when you get to the podium.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Kellen Piku, and I live at 171 Jaden Lane in the Summerfield neighborhood. I've lived at this address since my home was built in 2010. When I built my home, I had a Generac standby generator installed. At that time, there was only a handful of homeowners in that neighborhood who had a generator, and there were never any issues whenever a power outage occurred. Over the course of subsequent years, more and more homeowners in that section of Summerfield began to have generators installed on their home. As more and more homeowners began making additional investments on their home, the demand increased on the outdated and insufficient infrastructure that was in that neighborhood. Then on August 29th of 2021, as Hurricane Ida completely devastated Terrebonne and surrounding parishes, that was when the gas pressure problems began to happen. Everyone in Terrebonne Parish was out of power, and the outdated gas pipelines and infrastructure could not handle the demand and the load to run every generator in the parish. I had been in communication with my previous councilman, Darren Guidry, who had informed me that there were sporadic issues throughout the parish and that they had told him that the issues were being repaired. Then, in June of 2023, Terrebonne Parish experienced a widespread power outage that lasted several hours. Once again, the gas pressure issues were happening again, and several residents in my neighborhood specifically began getting very frustrated. I called Darren Guidry and I appeared before the previous elected council and I entered an official complaint. I was invited to the next parish council meeting where Mr. Waits, who was an engineer and who was working on an ongoing gas infrastructure improvement project for Terrebonne Parish, had testified before that council, and he had stated that the infrastructure improvement project was nearing completion, and once it was completed, they would be able to push 60 PSI parish-wide, which should be sufficient enough to satisfy the demand of everyone in the parish. During that time, Dwight, an employee of the gas department, had advised me to increase the size of the pipe that went from my gas meter on my home into the generator. I hired Alec Hebert, owner of Shockwave Electric, to do this work. We immediately got a permit from the parish, and that work was completed. In approximately September of 2023, I was told that that infrastructure improvement project in the parish was completed. And since then, every time there was a power outage, my generator worked without problems. Then, just a few weeks ago on September 11th, Hurricane Francine made landfall in our parish. This time, my elderly aunt, who suffers from chronic COPD and must have an oxygen machine, she came to stay with me at my house for the storm because she knew that I had a generator, and her oxygen machine needs electricity to run. We lost power at approximately 4 p.m. and everyone's generator in the neighborhood started and worked fine. Then at approximately 7 p.m., there was a sudden drop in gas pressure in the neighborhood once again. This time, the gas pressure issues were mostly isolated mainly to areas of Summerfield west of Lancaster Drive and Mandalay Woods and in the Terracane and several homes in Bayou Black. I went out to try to restart my generator and it would not start. It kept giving an underspeed error, which means it has no gas. I called Shockwave Electric and Alec Abair, the owner and also my neighbor, immediately returned my call. He stated that there is an additional gas pressure gauge on his meter and it is showing zero pressure. He advised me to call the Terrebonne Parish Utilities and request that a service ticket be opened for someone to come out to my home. Several of my neighbors also called. I also had some of my neighbors who do not have generators on their home but couldn't even start their gas stoves. At about 5 a.m. Thursday morning, I heard my neighbor across the street start his generator. I went outside and I was able to start my generator. I turned off my air conditioners because I feared my generator would fail again. Later that day, Dwight with the gas department came out and visited everyone who called in tickets to the utilities department. He stated to all of us that the cause of the gas pressure drop was due to a faulty regulator equipment in the Bayou Black gas plant. He stated that they had repaired the faulty equipment and they was able to once again push out 60 PSI and that everything was working fine again. He also stayed at my home while I turned on both of my air conditioning units. He stated to my neighbor, who happens to be attorney and well-respected attorney Patrick Yancey, that they did not have any kind of mechanism that would alert anyone to the faulty equipment at that particular gas plant in Bayou Black. That is of concern to many of us, since other gas plants in the parish do have a said mechanism in place to set off an alarm to notify personnel of faulty equipment. He also gave Patrick his personal cell number if in the event another emergency occurred. Everything worked great that Thursday until about 8 p.m. when many folks in my section of Summerfield, once again, their generators shut down once more. But not everyone's generator shut down the second time. Patrick texted Dwight and he went out and checked the regulator and he stated that the gas plant in Bayou Black was once again pushing 60 PSI of pressure. However, no reason was given this time as to why that second drop of pressure happened. I was able to start my generator, but I turned off my air conditioners because I could not have my power fail again because my aunt's oxygen backup tank was out of oxygen and I could not afford to lose power again. On Friday, Dwight with the gas department personally came out to my home and I then learned on that visit that he was actually my aunt's neighbor, my sick aunt. It was a neighbor. He noticed, he asked to look at my meter and my generator. He noticed that I did have the pipe change that he had requested me to do from the generator. However, he stated when that was completed, the parish was supposed to come to my home and replace both the meter and the regulator. And the parish did not do that. And that was part, apparently, when we applied for the permit, that was stated in the permit, and that was, somebody dropped the ball. So he immediately apologized and he called a technician to my home. 20 minutes later, that technician came to my home and replaced it. And I called Shockwave and I asked him to please advise the technician on how to properly set the regulator. Once that was completed, he stayed at my home, and usually when the air conditioners would go on and the air generator was running, you would hear a hesitation and like it was bogging down. Once I started the air conditioners after the correct equipment was in place, there was no hesitation and everything worked fine. And then 4 hours later, the power was restored. So in closing, I would like to state that we have made indeed several improvements to the gas lines and the infrastructure in the parish, but there are several issues that need to be addressed. Many of my neighbors have made enhancements and improvements to their greatest asset, their home. And we recognize the efforts made by the parish to correct the deficiencies in the gas lines, but more work does still need to be done. There needs to be some sort of alert system in place to notify gas personnel when there's an equipment failure at all of the parish-owned facilities. If we can identify these few things to keep the gas pressure going whenever there's a major weather event, or even a widespread power outage, then there won't be so many tempers flaring, and we can all go forward in a positive manner. We as homeowners and residents, we do our part, we do pay our taxes, and many of us are pillars and we're well-respected members of this community. My late father was. We are simply asking our elected officials to put better processes and procedures in place to avoid failures of this magnitude in the future. And my main concern at that time was that I had the life of my elderly sick aunt who was in my care. And I would like to also recognize Mr. Dwight, who works for the gas department, because he went far beyond the call of duty for everybody who was experiencing these problems. And with that, I thank you all for your time and attention, and I'm willing to make myself open, be of help to anybody to, alleviate this problem for anybody, because the more and more the more residents that add gas generators to their houses, the more demand and more load it takes and puts on the infrastructure. And I know they have been working on it, but there's still more work to be done. And if there's anything I can do to be helpful, I am here for you. Okay? And I thank you all for taking the time to listen to me. Thank you, Mr. Danny, for inviting me.
Hang on, Mr. Pico, before you go. Is your question for Mr. Pico? Okay. We'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
I have another speaker card, and then we'll get an update from administration, but we may call you back up for questions.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll be here. Okay.
Thank you. The next speaker card I have is Travis Terrebonne. Mr. Travis, when you get to the podium, please state your name and address for the record, sir.
Excuse me, Travis Terrebonne. My business is located at 152 North Hollywood Road. So I came here tonight, let me just say business name is Jen Gators Power Systems. We do residential and commercial standby and prime power generators. So part of why I'm up here is I just came here tonight to listen to what was going to be said about the gas and infrastructure. And I just recently had the same meeting, different setting with Lafourche Parish. And I've also spoken at the Louisiana Gas Association Generator Roundtable as an expert about this situation. So I got involved in this business in 2021. And as a result of Hurricane Ida, I've been in the oil and gas rotating equipment repair business for 20 years. And this clock's not running. I don't know if I'm supposed to be. But anyway, and so I got in this business predominantly after Hurricane Ida because I saw horror stories about residential natural gas generators and the consumers being sold extremely false bill of goods on what it was there for, what it was designed to do, how it was sized, and how it was permitted or lack thereof. The interesting part about this standby generator business, it's only about 20 years old. If you look at where we were Hurricane Katrina 19 years ago, you couldn't even fit a 20 kW unit in the back of your pickup truck. Now you can start it and stop it from your cell phone. So the industry has evolved. However, gas utility systems and the way gas is distributed to the generators is extremely antiquated. And I believe there are very small measures that can be taken to advance the industry. I'm also out here in the public dealing with residents of Terrebonne, Lafourche, Assumption, St. Mary, listening to the gas concerns. And they have valid concerns. No pun intended, but a raccoon could take out the electrical grid, and now we can't provide gas. So what can you actually provide me as a citizen? So I get that point of view. However, most of what we have seen with gas issues on generators were it was self-inflicted. It was not necessarily always gas supply. I believe there's a large majority of this problem that does lie in the responsibility of the gas, the distributor, the grid, the size of the line. But there's also a lot of things that I find completely staggering from the generator perspective. Out of 14,000 customers on record right now for TPCG gas customers, they only have registered 2,700 generators. I can tell you right now, between myself, Shockwave, and the other people involved in the parish that put in generators, we'll surpass that number this year alone. So that's inaccurate. South Coast Gas has 25,000 customers, 4,000 generators on record. That is grossly inaccurate. Just last week in the roundtable meeting with Lafourche Parish, present were Enterprise Gas, Atmos, South Coast Gas, parish president, utilities director. And what I found astounding was from enterprise all the way down to the parish administration, there was zero cohesion on how to get a permit for a generator. We work in several different parishes in the state. None of them are even close in regard to how to apply for a permit. At one point, one of the gas suppliers stopped the meeting to say, "Excuse me, so the parish has a permit for a generator?" So there's really no cohesion in where this industry is going. And I'm going to go ahead and say it's Morgan City has currently a moratorium on natural gas generators because their line pack or line pressure available at the sudden drop is far less than what Terrebonne has. But the conversation is going to continue to a point where somebody has to make a decision on what we do going forward with gas. Essentially, I plan to grow this business, and I don't want to be put out of business due to irresponsibility and ignorance of statistics on how to advance it. So from 2021, when I got in this industry, I started trying to get a meeting with Mr. Mike St. Remain at South Coast Gas. He took the meeting with me 2 years later. And since then, we have moved the ball down the field in at least wrangling statistics and data and what's supposed to be or what's expected out of this natural gas generator industry. I can tell you that it's not going anywhere. A natural gas average generator burns about 350,000 BTUs. A tankless water heater is half that. Larger homes have 2 tankless water heaters. It's perplexing to me that there are places that can put moratoriums on natural gas generators without any data whatsoever. In the same area, we could issue building permits in a year that is going to be homes on natural gas, but what's coming down the line is what I'm afraid of is a moratorium on natural gas. So,
We point at somebody else.
oh, okay, sorry. So, look, I was not prepared to come up here tonight, but I would like to work with the parish to try to find the solution to this problem based on data versus just doing it off of a hunch, which I'm afraid is where it's going. So at this point, the first thing we have to do, we got to hoof this route. Somebody got to put on comfortable tennis shoes and go figure out how many generators we got in the parish that's not permitted. And so that's the most difficult part of our job is the permit application, but I'm focused on helping to keep this industry sustainable. And if we don't know how many generators are on the grid, we can't turn this thing into a math problem to deliver the amount of gas that the calculations say we have to give versus just saying, I don't think we can do natural gas generators anymore. And to put on record as well, every natural gas generator in the parish can run on propane. So there is an alternative fuel source available. We have ways to calculate that. I think the authority having jurisdiction on propane is quite a bit different than natural gas. So I would encourage further conversation with the parish on alternative fuel sources as well as bringing in professional expertise to solve the problem from a sustainable position versus a hunch. So thank you.
Hang on, Travis. Ms. Chauvin?
So when you're installing, you do the permit process?
Yes, ma'am.
And so every company that installs does not do the permit process?
That is correct. I can tell you right now, if you walk out of this building, the closest house to this building has a Generac generator that does not meet your current code to apply for a permit in the parish.
Chris, can you tell me how much that permit is?
I think it's $300, maybe $200.
And so my
It's a
question is this,
flat rate, 200.
okay, why does it need to be 200? I want to know.
I paid
because-
$1,500 in Assumption Parish, so that's a deal.
Yeah, I mean,
But I mean, why?
well, certainly because one of the reasons is we have to do an inspection, so that's part of the fee. I mean, most of our trades are 125. Most of our building permits are 200 on up.
Okay. No, I was just wondering, because I know we use our boat generator, so ours is diesel, so I'm just, I will hook that sucker right up to that house. I'm not going without AC, but I was just kind of wondering how that works. So we're needing to propose that, or at least look into something to where you're gonna know what's on your grid?
Well, yeah, this is something that definitely came up during Ida, and we've taken steps towards making improvements to the system, like Travis is talking about. I mean, and Mr. Piku before him. I mean, at first it was believed to be a distribution issue, and there are problems with distribution, no doubt about that. But then in digging a little deeper into it, there were some instances where it was the meter was undersized because, say, when the home was built in the 90s, for example, over maybe at that time all they had from a natural gas was a stove and a hot water heater, and then they put in a pool and an outdoor kitchen and all these other appliances, so the meter was undersized for the load. In some cases that was the problem. In some instances, and I was just explaining to this, like Francine, we had several calls of people having issues. Probably half of the calls that we received were from people who didn't have permits for their gas systems when they were installed. So we don't even know what's going on with those folks. But I can tell you, I know Ernest has been working with administration, his team, with our permitting folks. We're trying to help improve the permit process. But also, I spoke last week with the representative from Atmos, and he is trying to get Atmos, South Coast, and Terrebonne Parish, get the three companies in the room. He wasn't even aware we had three different utility providers in Terrebonne. So we're going to get the three gas companies together with us and administration. We're going to at least start working on the problem here in Terrebonne.
Okay, so I'm getting that we have an issue not knowing what we have on the grid. But I also remember when I was running for this position, I talked to someone who worked at South Coast Gas, and he did say that we have line problems, big line problems in my area for sure, but also he started mapping out. And so maybe he's a go-to person because he worked there for a number of years, and he retired from there. I don't know. Maybe he's a person to bring on.
So can I just
yes,
speak
sir.
on something that Chris said?
Sure.
He's absolutely correct. I just want to state that, so there's several contributing factors to irresponsible consumption of natural gas. So if a permit is not applied for, there's no one to go out and determine that the correct size meter is put in place. In addition to it, if it's not done correctly, and an improper size generator is installed in a home, it will spin that gas meter quicker than you could shake a stick at it, like my great-grandfather used to tell me. In addition, if you don't maintain your car, your fuel mileage is going to do what? It's going to decline. If you do not maintain your generator and it is inadequately sized to your home, and you do not have the proper gas meter, that is the large majority of the calls that in a widespread outage we have received. That's factual data. But there are areas that do not have enough line size and line pack, and if you map it out, it's the heavily populated, recently developed communities, not only in Terrebonne, in Lafourche as well. And there is no science on the size of the piping. I'm telling you that verbatim from the same meeting that he's talking about having that I facilitated 2 weeks ago. So there's a lot of contributing factors to gas. There are areas suffering from pressure and volume, though. That's it.
Mr. Babin?
Yeah, I want to thank both you and Cullen for coming up here. I mean, he has an immediate
Absolutely.
problem. You came up with some solutions. I asked him to come tonight and to put this on the agenda so we could hear from administration on the steps, and I think some of them have already been brought out. Hear from them because we had a volume and a pressure problem.
Yes.
Now we have a volume problem. That volume problem is a number of people that are putting them out there. And then hearing you
Because
say that the greater majority of them out there are not permitted, that's another set of issues that we need to address. So there's a lot of things, and we have done, Mr. Pico got up here, and he's absolutely right. He was up here a few years ago, and we did have a problem. This parish spent some money on some of the lines, but since that time, we probably quadrupled the number of generators that are
Yes,
put
sir.
there. And what we did probably would have taken care of what we had at that particular time, but not anything in the future. So again, I appreciate both of y'all coming here tonight, and I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Lerat to let him give us an update on where we are, what we should be doing, hopefully where we're going to be going from here.
You want to speak first?
We want to try to solve this problem, and that's not going to be done overnight, evidently. Thank you, Mr. Lerat.
Thank you, Mr. Babin. Mr. Harding.
Yeah, and I think Mr. Babin is absolutely correct. You know, man, I'm pretty sure Public Works can handle this. And we do committees and stuff like that. And I think by the time we have our next Public Works committee, we should have something that's there. And then we probably can refer this matter to Public Works and handle it at a later date.
Thank you, Mr. Harding. Mr. Lerat.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. This is our presentation. I want to thank everybody that came up and speak on this issue. It is a widespread issue. It's a real issue, and it's complex. There's a lot of factors everybody kind of touched on from Mr. Piku and Mr. Travis right here. But we have been working on this for quite a while. We have cast iron. We did have cast iron pipes all throughout this parish. We've been replacing those. Phase 21 has been completed in October 23. And this is a big stretch of replacement to convert to P pipe to increase the pressure from 25 PSI to 30. This is just another one of these projects that we need to do. That's an incremental project. Again, this isn't an overnight fix. This is something that's going to take a long time. It's going to be dependent upon budget and implementation. Next slide, please. Highway 311 gas line upgrade. This is to improve flow in the existing gas distribution system to increase from a 2-inch to a 4-inch line, completed in 2023 as well. Next slide. Martin Luther King Boulevard Loop. This is one of those areas that is being developed, and it's going to be a commercial area that's going to need a lot of gas. So we put in a loop recently. This isn't a massive project, but it's a way to ensure gas flow, and it's a great way to be proactive about making sure we have gas in developing areas. This was completed this summer. Next slide, please. South Hollywood Road, Corporate Drive. Again, this is just the installation of a small, fairly small area, but it's one of those deals. As we grow, we got to make sure we tie into existing systems and continue to be proactive about doing that. Next slide, please. South Hollywood Road Extension Loop. Again, it's just a road tie into an existing line, $60,000. Again, the point is I want to make sure everybody's aware of these projects. You know, we're currently working on this, not just this administration. It's a long-standing campaign, right? And it may sound redundant, but all these little projects do add up, and you have to do them incrementally, right? It is a massive element to eat by that time. Next slide, please. West Tunnel Boulevard, South Hollywood Road crossing, another tie-in. This was this year. Next slide, please. And this right here is some bigger projects. A new regulator station by Fletcher. This is again expanding out to the outskirts of the parish. We're going to need to extend these lines. We're going to need to have new regulator stations. We need an in-leak station upgrade for the Humphreys regulator station. It's a $50,000 cost. And then Hollywood regulator station improvements. Again, it's a combination of improving what we have and building out new to increase flow and pressure. Next slide, please. This is something that's ongoing. This project's in process. This is the PVC replacement to PE. This is in the lower reaches of the parish by Presque Isle. This is a $1.3 million project and expected to be completed mid-next year. But again, the idea to create more pressure and to create more flow through going from 2-inch to 4-inch and going from PVC to a better material, which is PE. Next slide, please. And this is the other half of the problem, right? We have the supply problem, then we have, just an outpacing of generators being installed. These are the numbers. We've had over 300 generators installed since Ida, and as of today, we have 2,700 known generators in our system. So it is ever increasing. Again, these are the numbers that we know of that we're constantly working on to improve our understanding of what we actually have. Next slide, please. During Francine, that was a good little litmus test for us to see where our system was at. We had 72 calls related to gas pressure drops of those 72, 23 were due to improper gas line size or regulator meter. 24 of those 72 calls didn't have a permit attached to that generator, which is an issue. Again, like everybody came over and talked about it, if we don't know how many generators we have, we can't fully understand what we need. But we have been making improvements. We did not experience any issues for Francine in the Whiskey Bayou, Sugarwood, or East Side areas, which is a win. We are improving, but it's going to take continual improvement. And we do have a couple projects on the books that we're looking to get funding for. Next slide. I think that's it.
Ms. Chauvin?
Okay. No, I just want to make you aware that on the east side, they had some issues.
Okay.
They just probably didn't call in because when I got out the next day and I started going and check on all the people like in Acadian, there were quite some issues. Like, so they've learned to take one off and let somebody else go on, and that's what they were doing, and it worked for them on that issue. And all the projects, and I kind of want to see that. Did you have any projects in East Homer, like in Acadian, in Sherwood? Did you have anything going down to Chauvin, like in the bayou areas? And I'm curious, and do we have something going forward in that? Right. So we don't know what they're going to do.
No, I mean, at this
Right,
time,
right.
we don't,
So
we
we
don't
have
know
to-
what the timeline is, but
Okay.
we all need to increase our pressure
Right.
and our flow size, right?
Okay, so on the east side in Acadian, I just wanted to make you aware of that. There are some issues. They probably just didn't
Okay,
call
well,
it
thank you
in.
for that.
But I'll give you the street.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank
And
you.
I wanted to also address Mr. Piku's concern about monitoring. That is a concern, and we have installed a monitoring system on 4 of our 17 stations, and we'll continue to do so as funding is available for that. So we're all working towards better understanding when we have pressure drops, so we can fix that as soon as we can.
You good, Ms. Chauvin?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Mr. Babin?
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to address, Noah, is the fact that we did have a problem in the buyback area. We were adjusting it. I mean, Kim, I had problems in Summerfield, Plantation Gardens, Terracane, Mulberry, Barrios, all of the ones in that particular area. So we all have a lot of problems with it. And hopefully this is some information that people can appreciate tonight. The thing that I got out of it is people want to know why we always have to have a permit. We have to have permits for things so we know what's going on. How can this parish grow its systems if we don't know what that system needs? And in this particular case here, I guarantee you between the areas I just mentioned, there's probably 2,000 generators, all right? So we can't keep up with the growth. And again, like they said, I didn't realize it was South Coast that did the one down the Chauvin area. There's 3 different gas entities that service the parish. So I'm glad we're working towards improving the system. Excuse me, gentlemen. We're trying to have a meeting here. Thank you. I'm glad we're trying to improve the system and everybody, hopefully we can move it from the permitting aspect to the construction aspect, the volume and the pressure aspect. So thank you for the presentation.
Absolutely. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Babin. Mr. Pledger?
Just one follow-up. Thanks for that information, the gentleman, Mr. Travis?
Or Travis? Okay.
Mr. Travis gave us, and also to administration for putting on the PowerPoint there, kind of giving us an idea of the intent of us being able to provide the services for our folks here in Terrebonne Parish. Most of all, though, what Mr. Travis said, I think that's key right there. As far as knowing whom or who has these generators out there, I noticed Mr. Lered in his explanation there or his sharing, he said that we currently have a project that's already in process. Well, the biggest thing, we're going from 2-inch to 4-inch, I get it, but at the same time, if you have 1,000 generators, I'm just using that for numbers, and 4 inch is not going to cut it, then You know, so I think the biggest thing is we need to find out how many generators out there. And if I'm not mistaken, when my budget and finance committee, I think we are holding over for 2 weeks to approve a contractor like Olemeter or something like that. That's our people that's on the ground right there. Count every house, go to every house and figure out how many generators we got out there. So just a little bit of input on that, but I really do appreciate you coming forward with this, with that information. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Pleasure. Seeing no other discussion, we'll move on to our next agenda item. Mr. Piku, thank you again for keeping this at the forefront. And Mr. Terrebonne, thank you for the information as a plumber and working for a contractor in this state. All of what he was saying is things that we've been speaking at our conventions throughout. And for those that live in Atmos area, they've been in the last couple of years going through changing all their lines as well. Next, Ms. Rhonda Green, a resident of Christopher Drive, wishes to address the council regarding placing a street sign in the neighborhood for kids with autism. Ms. Green is still here. Please state your name and address again for the record. You can pull that mic down.
Okay. Rhonda Green. I reside at 441 Christopher Drive. And I'm trying to get an awareness sign placed on the street for my grandson and also my neighbor child that has autism. Not just for that, it's also it's a safety issue. My neighbor's son, he speaks, and my grandson, he's nonverbal. My grandson lives 4 houses down from me. He lives at 457 Christopher Drive, and I live at 441.
And yes, no, that's off of it's Bayou Gardens and Vicari.
Okay.
And I know that in dealing with autistic children, the safety aspect of it is if they get out and the parents put all sorts of safe goods on their homes so that the children can't get out without their knowledge. But as if you know autistic children, they're very bright and productive. But if a police officer comes up to that child that's nonverbal, that's a very difficult issue. And I know administration has spoken to Ms. Green. They've spoken to me as well. But I'll let Mr. Wazan make his comments or ask his questions. Mr. Wazan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for coming. I am your councilman. I don't remember ever meeting you or phone call or anything, but you did reach out, and
Yes.
when I found out about this, I started doing my research because it was the first time I'd seen this issue, right? Being a new councilman.
Yes.
So what I can do and the council can do to help with that situation. We no longer have signs that we place because the state doesn't recognize it. Nobody recognizes it as official, right? But what we can do from what I've been educated is potentially or possibly lower the speed limit on that street. Now, you might say, oh, well, that's nothing. Well, it's one thing that can be enforced.
Okay.
Okay. You got to think of it as what can be enforced. If you put a sign, can a police, if they're not going over the speed limit, stop that vehicle? Probably not, right?
Right.
But if we lower that speed limit, and on occasion they patrol that area, right? And police, I'll make them aware of the situation on that street, right? And they could potentially slow traffic down on that street, which I'm sure is a concern of yours, right?
Can y'all get our mic back on? Okay.
I live next door, actually to a Terrebonne police officer, sheriff office, and a couple of houses down on the same side where I live at. There's a Homer police officer too. So there are some officers definitely on my street.
So that's what I've learned that we can do, and something that could potentially have some kind of teeth or something that's enforceable, right?
Okay.
To help you with that situation. And what I'd like to do is, before you leave, if I could give you my card, you'll
Okay.
have my phone number,
Yes.
and we can communicate, okay?
Okay. Okay.
I sure appreciate you
I
coming, Ms.
appreciate that
Green.
too. I appreciate y'all listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wazan. Thank you, Ms. Green. Item C, Mr. Lionel Lewis wishes to address the council regarding Recreation District Number 11. Mr. Lewis, please state your name and address again for the record when you get there. Just make sure that little green light's on the microphone.
Good evening. My name is Lionel Lewis Jr., 143 King Street, Homer, Louisiana, 70363. I came tonight regarding Rec District 11 because it seems like ever since we got rid of the problem that we had, we are continually having problems. I guess you could say with Terrebonne Parish government, anybody could come lie. With this last incident, nobody on our board contacted anybody about any money, any contracts, anything. But nobody through Terrebonne Parish government reached out to our board to find out was that a fact. At our last meeting, we were notified that we was hit with a cease and desist letter stating that they was taking a park that we was already in negotiations to give back to Terrebonne Parish. So I came tonight to clear Rec District 11 name because it seems like we've been punched down on ever since we tried to rectify the problem that we had. So that's why I came tonight.
All right. Does the administration want to address anything?
Yes, thank you. What was the question?
Michelle, can you please walk the council through that cease and desist letter?
Yes. I did receive a notification from our administration that there were some complaints from some of the constituents in the area. And I think this is in particular to the adult softball complex, that they were getting calls from some staff members or maybe some directors from the recreation district asking for increased rental prices, and also asking that payments be made for events that normally they would not ask to be paid for. So events that were months down the line, they were asking for payment up front for those events. I did try to contact Mr. Larry Ward. He was not available. And I know that they are represented by Larry Ward, so I tried to make that contact. But in the meantime, I did issue a cease and desist letter that says if you are doing these things, please stop, because there is a pending matter of the parish taking over the adult softball complex and some other parks for that matter, and that those parks that the parish will be taking over operations of, obviously the parish is going to want to assume rental for those things as soon as the parish gets operations over those parks.
You want me to let McNair talk before you? I got a speaker card on. All right, so I do have a speaker card that relates to this issue. So I'm going to ask Ms. Suzette Bagnaris to come to the microphone, and she's speaking on the same issue and another. Ms. Bagnaris, before you speak, let me just read something. Our item D says, in accordance with Section 2-07E of the Terrebonne Parish Home Rule Charter, the public will be heard and can speak for 3 minutes on any matter related to parish government without discussion or questions and answers on non-agenda items. Because we have Mr. Lewis speaking about this topic on the agenda item, we'll include you in that item.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to
Please give
address
your
the
name and
council.
address for the record.
Yes, Suzette Bagnaris. I'm a business owner at 1120 Lafayette Street in Houma. I stand before you tonight to express concern with regard to rec district and Councilman Pleasure's district. There was $1 million allocated by the previous administration for a community center in Councilman Pleasure's district. In looking at the budget, $700,000 of that was taken away. And I was concerned as to where that money went. So 2 weeks ago, when we happened to be in Baton Rouge, meeting with the Office of Community Development on another issue that's on your agenda, the Community Development Block Grant Funds, I raised the issue with the parish president and with his team. Could they look into where that $700,000 went in the budget that was previously allocated for that rec district and community center? Because there's $300,000 still showing for it. 2 weeks later, the $300,000 was also taken and reallocated. I have serious concerns about that. If this council had previously voted to allocate the $1 million for a community center in this historically underserved population of Terrebonne Parish, where did the $700,000 go? And did that come back before the parish for a vote, the council for a vote to move that $700,000 elsewhere? And in the last 2 weeks, did it come back to the parish to remove the remaining $300,000 for a vote? I don't think it has. And my concern is that this is retaliatory because the meeting that we had in Baton Rouge, during that time, there was a little bit of a contentious discourse between Councilman Pleasure and the parish president. And then 2 weeks later, that money was taken from him too. So my concern is that the underserved population in Council District 1 deserves their community center, regardless of any disagreement that Councilman Pleasure and the parish president may have had at our meeting in Baton Rouge. And I would like to know that there is someone looking into the $1 million that this council allocated for that community center, where the $700,000 of it has already been reallocated, and did it properly come before you to vote to do that, and where the $300,000 went in the last 2 weeks. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Bagnaris. Mr. Lee?
Yeah, I'd just like to say, President, none of us know what happened at the meeting. President Bergeron's not here to defend himself. So and this item has nothing to do with the CBDGR block grant fund. So I don't know why that was thrown in there, but I think Candace will respond to everything else.
Ms. Malden?
Yes, sir. Thank you. So the 700,000, and I'm gonna have to use my brain here and try to remember when things happened, but I believe the 700,000 that was part of the Village East Community Center, we did come to the council for a budget amendment in late 2023 for it to be moved. I believe it was moved as part of the Whitney building purchase. So it did come to the parish council for a budget amendment. It could not have been moved without parish council approval. The 350,000 that we are referring to that was introduced Monday night as a budget amendment to the council. So it has not been approved yet. It is part of the budget amendment number 9 with the American Rescue Plan. And that is being done because the American Rescue Plan, so the 350,000 that is left in the Village East Community Center is American Rescue Plan money. The American Rescue Plan money has a deadline that all funding needs to be obligated by the end of December 31st, 2024, and it has to be expended by the end of December 31st, 2026. We all know that the 350,000 is not going to be enough funding for a community center. So we decided that there are projects that are in place with the American Rescue Plan, preferably the HVAC systems. So to upgrade the HVAC system here at Government Towers, as well as the courthouse and courthouse annex, that can be done and can be obligated before the end of the year this year. So that money is being there. If we do not have the money obligated by the end of December 31st, 2024, we have to return the money to the United States Treasury. So that is why that decision has been made. As part of our CDBG DR funding, we do have an application in place for community centers, and that is one that we are strongly looking at, that we're hoping that we'll be able to fulfill that disadvantaged community with Village East with that funding there.
Okay, Mr. Harding.
Yes, it has to be. I know. Was that part of the $600,000 that we were talking about the Monday night, or was it? It's not it. Okay. Well, regards to that, so it has to be something to be done planned by December 2024, right? All right. So that's. I'm just trying to figure out. I understand what you're saying, and then we're going down the line with the CBD disaster recovery money. So there's no guarantee that this is actually going to go toward that particular area, because we're not even really guaranteed disaster recovery money either, right?
You're guaranteed disaster recovery money. Are you guaranteed that that application will be approved? Maybe not. But we are going to get some money. I don't want to say that we're not going to get DR money, but I understand what you're asking there. There is an application. The application still has to go through a process of approval.
Right, and then and with that being so, it doesn't really guarantee that that area will get that community center then. It's not a guarantee, but the money was already allocated. Right?
The money was budgeted. I don't remember when it was first put in as the Village East Community Center, but it was voted to remove the $700,000 at the end of last year as well.
What my point is, if it's not approved, it's still $1 million that was supposed to go over there. So therefore, we have to somehow or another get that $1 million back over there, and it's not a guarantee to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harding. Mr. Pleasure.
All right, this is my question. I get it. I understand that we had $1 million allocated by way of the American Recovery for a Village East Community Center that was budgeted for it. 700,000 went for the Whitney Bank building. I understand that, and they're left a remainder of 300,000 or $350,000 in that account. American Recovery funds. Now, based on the requirement, it states, as you stated, Ms. Candace, it states that that money has to be at least designated or has to have a project in place or something like that before the end of the year. However, let's make sure that we're clear, and you can help me understand, is it that money also has to have a spend date by December 31st of 26, correct?
Yes, sir.
So with that being said, that gives us 2 years, 2 months to be able to come up with something else, some other funds, possibly CDBG DR funds that can kind of go with that. I'm not sure if if there's a gray area in there, but I'm sure it's all based on language to be able to combine those funds to be able to achieve the Village East Community Center. Now, my next thing is the fact that we're taking those funds away, and we're in hopes that we can, and we do have a project that, or a proposed project in the CDBG DR program for community centers. Now, I don't want to play on words, but that's not site specific to Village East. So with that being said, who would have the authority, or who's going to make the decision of I would like for it to go to Village East, not centers in no other area but there first, and then if it's centers, it's 2, so it's more than one. Village East would be the start, and then we would go add that plural to other parts of the parish. That's my biggest concern there. And if you guys check the record, I voted no against that. So, thank you.
Just to clarify a little bit more, because I was under the assumption, like you are, that obligation means that we have it like budgeted, we have it obligated, set aside, the council has approved it. With the American Rescue Plan, their term obligation means it has to be under contract to get started. And the only way that we can get under contract to get started is we would have to go out for bid, and we have to have the money budgeted that way.
Okay, so tell me this, and you're educating me now. So tell me this: if it has to be under contract, how long has it been since we've had that money? And when was it first budgeted for Village East Community Center?
I
And-
don't,
and
I
I
don't,
don't-
have that information right now, and I don't want to speak on it because I don't know, but I can get it to
I
you
get
for
it.
sure.
So that really came down during, American Recovery monies came during COVID, so we know how long ago that was. So at least a year prior to the end of last year, that monies was obligated to or budgeted for the Village East Community Center, or actually, it was probably in '22 at least. So that's a year and something, I'm sure. But it's just something for me that I'm really passionate about. And I have 8 other colleagues up here, and they're just as passionate for their districts and things like that. And it's I just to have it there and it goes away, and then we have to start from scratch. That's just hard pill to swallow for me. And I mean, the American way is that we move forward and we help all of our constituents and all of our people out. Thanks.
Mr. Chairman,
Thank you, Mr. Pleasure. Yeah, Ms. Begnaris, I saw you walk up.
Mr. Chairman, respectfully, my ask to this council is that when you do submit your applications that are due on November 1st, the category under Resiliency Center that you are already submitting applications for, and that OCD has already said they are likely to approve, please, when you specifically designate where those community centers are going to go, please make Village East a priority, given that the money has been shifted from them for other projects that benefit the parish. So that's my ask tonight. Please make it a priority.
And I have no problem agreeing with that, Ms. Begnaris. I think it was there. It needs to continue going. We can get in further discussions on those. Mr. Harding?
Yes, Mr. Lewis, could you please come back up here, please? Because we kind of went left and right. Yeah, right. Okay. Let's go from this point back to Ms. Neal. You said something in reference to the actual transferring of sports complex and some other pieces of property. And so what you're actually saying to Mr. Lewis in Rack 11 is that any responsibilities that are with the adult softball complex, you're not actually honoring them? Well, you stop them from charging future events or anything like that. So actually, I'm trying to figure out why the letter was sent to them.
Yes, sir. So the letter said, because the parish is in conversations with the Recreation District 11 to take over operations of some of the parks that the Recreation District 11 currently has operations over. We are not sure when those will occur. We've gotten most of the parks approved by ordinance. I think most of the parks were already approved by the board. The adult softball complex is the last one that is yet to be approved by ordinance by this council. But we know that that eventually we'll get there. So we're asking that they not approve or not request fees for the events that are going to take place in the future when the parish is going to be operating the parks. At some time in the future, we know that, in the near future, we know that the parks are going to be transferred to the parish. So we would request that they not have those events pay well in advance of when they're supposed to pay, so that those funds and those rentals can go through the parish operations.
I kind of go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir.
Well, part of the agreement, the reason why that's the last part is because we are hot and heavy in discussions with it. That's one of our parks that we make revenue on, that we haven't made revenue in a while on due to the fact of management that we had before. So I asked when we eliminated that manager that we give the new manager a chance to generate revenue, being that he has the necessary means to reach out or whatnot. That's why that park is the last park. We signed away the rest, but that's the only park that we have that we make revenue on. That's why that park is the last park. But I just find it ironic that all of a sudden somebody go and say that we charging for stuff down the road or calling to ask for money. Nobody on this board ever done that. Ever done that. But I just figured it was disrespect that nobody from parish government reached out to the chair or the vice chair to find out was that true or what really happened.
I guess I can ask you then, Mr. Lewis, that you sat on that board. Are you guys actually booking and actually collecting any deposits or anything like that, or have you guys actually done that? I know you're spending about $400,000 on the park. So are you guys scheduling and actually receiving deposits on that?
No, sir. Like the last deal that they talking about, that was made under the previous manager. So now we still dealing with the backlash of letting that manager go.
Okay, so what it was, you're in the position that you actually have a contract, so you can't renege on that. And I think what's happening now is Ms. Neal is saying that after that point, she don't want y'all. Well, she's asking that Rec 11 do not do that.
But we was already saying, we found out that night that you actually have softball tournaments going on now as we speak. And none of us on the board knew a thing about it.
Therefore, you're missing revenue.
Exactly.
Right.
But not just that. It's, I mean, I don't want to speak on
Well,
that.
so that's the thing, and I would actually agree with him. Is the fact that going back to what we were saying earlier in reference to the community center, we can't assume. We were actually under the assumption when we were talking about the insurance, we can't assume something going to happen and it's not going to happen. Until it happens, that's the final deal. Someone go out and buy a piece of property, and then either you're going to have the mineral rights or you're not going to have the mineral rights. And when you get that piece of property, you take the liabilities with it. So therefore, it doesn't seem as if the liabilities that are actually, it's going to be a liability. It should be a benefit to Terrebonne Parish consolidated government, because it's not nothing recreation Rec 11 is going to be paying. It's something that either Rec 11 is going to actually collect the funds and the fees and funds from that, or Terrebonne Parish consolidated government is going to actually receive the funds from that. So that's a win for either end of the parish. So I think that's where my point on that. And
I
as
just
y'all go
came
forward.
for the lack of respect. I mean, somebody could have called and asked. I mean, that's the equivalent of me just going to another district and saying that I didn't like the way they treated me at their park. Somebody gonna take something from them because I didn't like the way they treated me.
Thank you for my point.
Thank you, Mr. Harding. Mr. Pledger.
Hold on, Mr. Lewis. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and also for all the robust conversation. But I just want to thank you for coming forward tonight. And I'm just going to share with legal and the rest of us so everybody gets a clear understanding of where we're at. Once you guys called me in my due diligence, of course, I did my my research to find out or try and find out, what exactly went on. And I had a meeting with our parish president, right? And he showed me specifically that you guys had an issue, or there were allegations there about charging in excess and also requiring fees and all that based on a Facebook post, okay? Based on a Facebook post. Someone put it on Facebook, or a group put it on Facebook and said you guys were doing this, that, and the other when it comes to funding or paying for the park, okay? So in further looking at that and trying to figure out what we actually, or what you guys were being accused of, we found out that while it was being put before the council to relinquish authority or relinquish the parks back to the parish, it was found that, the parish was giving authorization for people to go out on the park, which it's a twofold deal. The parish is not, they're asking you guys not to do something, but we're doing it here on our end. I get it totally. the frustration on your part and the looking at it as a disrespectful or not giving you guys the courtesy, should I say, for running or being responsible for that park until it is actually relinquished back to the parish. So in all that, we have some work to do here at the parish too as well. And we hopefully we can further and be able to work with all the rec districts here in Terrebonne Parish and learning from these experiences and not so favorable moments like now, and just making that relationship a lot better, as a whole. That's ultimately what I want, and I'm sure everybody else wants the same thing. So I do appreciate you for coming forward tonight, clearing you guys' name for the record. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pledger. Thank you, Mr. Lewis, Ms. Bagnaris. Our next item is 3 committee reports. A, Budget and Finance. Mr. Pledger.
Make a motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Budget and Finance Committee held on October 14th, 2024, and I have 2 public hearings. 1, consider the introduction of an ordinance declaring a Generac generator without transfer switch from the Utilities Department having a value of $5,000 as a surplus and authorizing said item to be disposed of by any legally approved methods and calling a public hearing on said matter on October 30th, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. Item number 2, consider the introduction of an ordinance to amend the 2024 adopted operating budget and 5-year capital outlay budget of the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government for the following items and to provide for related matters. Item number 1, animal shelter HVAC, $43,752. Item number 2, utility fund, $381,000. Item number 3, home and police department, $3,458. Item number 4, Section 8 housing voucher program, $674,181. Item number 5, home and police department, $895. Item number 6, Brady Road Bridge replacement, $375,000. Item number 7, Bayou Terrebonne Clear Snag Project, $600,000. Item number 8, American Rescue Plan, $2,854,058. Item number 9, Emergency Preparedness Department, EMPG, $17,500, and calling a public hearing on said matter on October 30th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m.
So we have a motion by Mr. Pledger, a second by Ms. Trustclair. Members, vote your machines. 8 yeas, 0 nays. Motion carries. Item B, Community Development and Planning Committee. Ms. Chauvin.
I make a motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Community Development and Planning Committee held on October 14th, 2024, and I have 41 condemnation hearings and 2 public hearings. Calling a condemnation hearing on the following residential, mobile homes, residential structures, accessory structures, and commercial structures on October 29th, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. 1, 206 Fresno Drive, 2, 204 Roselawn Avenue, 3, 109 Smith Lane, 4, 100 Fence Row, 5, 1120 Berg Street, 6, 145 American Boulevard, 7, 632 Aragon Road, 8, 6891 Highway 56, 9, 102 Union Street, 10, 154 Red Street, 11, 77 19 Main Street, 12, 7166 Park Avenue, 13, 7170 Park Avenue, 14, 326 Sterling Drive, 15, 810 Honduras Street, 16, 248 McKinley Street, 17, 7347 Park Avenue, 18, 7491 Park Avenue, 19, 426 Highway 311, 20, 5709 Park Avenue, 21, 213 Oak Street, 22, 127 Scott Lane, 23, 6851 West Park Avenue, 24, 7435 Main Street, 25, 408 Maplewood Drive, 26, 117 Henderson Street, Street 2, 27, 117 Henderson Street, Street 1, 28, 119 Henderson Street, 29, 254 Carlaw Street, 30, 140 Red Street, 31, 7366 Park Avenue, 32, 5507 Smith Street, 33, 215 Harris Street, 34, 105 St. Matt Street, 35, 59 Highway 56, 36, 174 Porsche Lane, 37, 7372 Park Avenue, 38, 7439 Main Street, 39, 218 Mulberry Street, 40, 11, 14 Barrow Street, 41 is 4655, 4657, 4659, 4661, and 4667 West Main Street. 42 is giving notice of the intent to adopt an ordinance to amend the zoning map of the parish of Terrebonne so as to rezone from OL open land to C2 general commercial, 1923 St. Louis Canal Road, Terrebonne Parish, Louisiana. Walton, Jefferson, and Jeanette Daisy applicant, and calling a public hearing on said matter for Wednesday, November 20th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. 43, giving notice of intent to adopt an ordinance to amend the zoning map of the parish of Terrebonne so as to rezone from R1 single-family residential to R2 two-family residential. 114 Banks Avenue, Terrebonne Parish, Louisiana. Cheryl Williams applicant, and calling a public hearing on said matter for Wednesday, November 20th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m.
We have a motion by Ms. Chauvin, second by Mr. Trosclair. Members, vote your machines. Nine yeas, 0 nays, motion carries. Item C, Policy, Procedure, and Legal Committee. Mr. Hamner.
I make a motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Policy, Procedure, and Legal Committee held on October 14th, 2024. And I have 3 public hearings. Number 1, consider the introduction of an ordinance to enact Section 19-223 of Chapter 19, Article 4 of the Terrebonne Parish Code of Ordinance to create the criminal offense of and establish penalties for public urination on public property and during public events in Terrebonne Parish, and call a public hearing on Wednesday, October 30th at 6:30 p.m. No puns intended. Consider the introduction of an ordinance to amend Section 2-403 through 2-406, Article 8 of Chapter 2 of the Terrebonne Parish Code of Ordinance, cultural facilities, to add the Civic Center to the list of facilities subject to fee waivers, to restrict fee waivers to governmental entities hosting civic, safety, health, and economic events open to the public, to provide for non-commercial rental discounts, and to revise rental rates, and to provide for matters relative thereto, and call a public hearing on Wednesday, November 20th at 6:30 p.m. And item 3 is Terrebonne Parish Code of Ordinances by repealing current section 16 to 56 and enacting a new section 16 to 56 for the purposes of regulating mobile food vendors, and call a public hearing on Wednesday, November 20th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m.
Have a motion by Mr. Hamner, second by Mr. Trosclair. Members, vote your machines. 9 yeas, 0 nays. Item D, Public Services Committee. Mr. Babin. Turn your light on, sir.
Yeah, I make a motion.
Turn your light on, sir. Turn your light on, sir.
I'm sorry. I make a motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Public Service Committee meeting held on Monday, October 14th, 2024. They have 4 public hearings. Consider the introduction of an ordinance to authorize the parish president to execute on behalf of Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government a lease of commercial space between Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government and Terrebonne Children's Advocacy Center to lease space in the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated owned building at 7910 Main Street, Houma, Louisiana, 70360, and call a public hearing on Wednesday, October 30th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. Number two, consider the introduction of an ordinance to authorize the parish president to enter into an amendment, number one, to the 1997 intergovernmental agreement, lease and sublease with Recreation District 11 to remove the adult softball park from the agreement and return care, custody, and control of the adult softball complex to Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government, and call a public hearing on Wednesday, October 30th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. Number three, consider the introduction of an ordinance to amend, rescind, and enact certain sections, Chapter 14, nuisance abatement of the Terrebonne Parish Code of Ordinance to provide for alternative methods of notice violations, to eliminate violations for excessive noises, to facilitate efficient processing of fees, to establish a protocol for canceling nuisance liens, to establish a warning period for nuisance actions, to stack violations for multiple offenses on one or more properties owned by similar owners, to standardize judicial review of violation proceedings, to prohibit persons in violations of the nuisance code from building on parish-owned, adjudicated, or surplus immovable property, and to provide for related matters, and call a public hearing on Wednesday, October 30th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. And finally, number four, consider the introduction of an ordinance to amend Article 5, Chapter 21 of the Terrebonne Parish Code, Section 21-87, to add provisions for the removal of Recreation District Board members, to amend Section 21-93 and 21-94 to require the repair of unsafe equipment or premises, to require compliance with the Policies and Procedures Manual, and to authorize Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government to take certain actions if the rec district fails to act, to adopt Section 21-99 to create the Recreation Advisory Committee, and to amend Section 21-97 to establish deadlines for the adoption of district and comprehensive master plans, and provide for other matters, and call a public hearing on Wednesday, October 30th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m.
We have a motion by Mr. Babin, second by Ms. Chauvin. Members, vote your machines. 9 yeas, 0 nays. Motion carries. Item 4, streetlights. As per Mr. Babin, second Mr. Harding. Members, vote your machines. 8 yeas, 0 nays. Item 5, monthly engineering reports. As per Mr. Babin, second Mr. Harding. Members, vote your machines. 9 yeas, 0 nays. Motion carries. Item 6, appointments to various boards, committees, and commissions. A, Houma Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, 3 expiring terms on 12/31. 1 representing the Military Museum, 2 representing a civic nonprofit, and 1 vacancy due to a resignation. Representing a civic nonprofit organization, Ms. Angela Portier. Representing a civic nonprofit submits application for consideration. Ms. Bianca Carr, representing a civic nonprofit, submits application for consideration. Ms. Renee Murphy, representing the Regional Military Museum, expresses her interest in being reappointed. We have a motion to open and close and appoint by Mr. Babin. Second, Mr. Harding. Members, vote your machines. Huh? No, we don't need to do a voice vote because they're all representing something different. Yeah. I had the same question. Has everybody voted? 8 yeas, 1 abstention. Congratulations. Item B, TITA, 3 expiring terms, each representing one of the following: Chamber of Commerce, Terrebonne Parish Council, and the Parish President. Mr. Joseph Boudreau II, representing the Houma Terrebonne Chamber of Commerce, expresses his wishes to be reappointed. We have a motion by Mr. Babin to open, close, and appoint Mr. Boudreau and hold the others. Second by Mr. Harding. Members, vote your machines. 9 yeas, 0 nays. Item C, South Central Human Services Authority, 2 expired terms. Ms. Sarah J. Hensley submits application and resume for consideration. Ms. Brittany Smith submits application for consideration. Motion by Mr. Babin to open, close, and appoint. I heard Mr. Trosclair second. Yeah. Members, vote your machines. 8 yeas, 1 abstention. Item D, Airport Commission, 1 expiring term on 10/10/24. Ms. Christine Strickland expresses her interest in being reappointed. We have a motion to open, close, and reappoint by Mr. Babin, seconded by Mr. Hamner. Members, vote your machines. 9 yeas, 0 nays. Item E, Veterans Memorial District Board, 1 expired term representing the Legislative Delegation South, and 1 vacancy due to a resignation representing the parish president south of the Intracoastal. Mr. Riley Grove, representing the Legislative Delegation South, submits application and resume for consideration. We have a motion to open, close, and appoint Mr. Grove and hold the others by Mr. Babin, seconded by Mr. Hamner. Members, vote your machines. 7 yeas, 1 abstention. Item 7, council members request discussion. A, Councilmember Carly Harding requests discussion regarding the following: CDBG DR funding application and update. Mr. Harding.
Yes, thank you. And take the time. I want to wish Mr. Pleasure happy birthday. I know his wife is sitting patiently out there. It's unusually long tonight, so I thought I can get her to fill out a speaker card to do it personally, but I'm gonna say, actually, you know, man, to be a representative up here and to have this item on there, and I'm sure my colleagues that sits here, they were aware that some challenges about the disaster recovery money was actually brought about. And I guess, you know, is there a speaker card to this? No one there? All right. And actually, once that was given, very much aware of it. And earlier in this council meeting, that was a particular topic that I received so many phone calls in reference to how much politics that was involved with this. But we're dealing with $117 million, and everybody's trying to get a piece of that particular pie. But once that went out, and then we want to address the elephant in the corner of the room and get them off the stool. And then to get the information, that was a meeting. I don't know if you guys know, but then the way Terrebonne Parish run within the government and in the public, I'm sure everyone know that the aforementioned meeting that Ms. Bagnaris was at, along with some other folk, happened in Baton Rouge with the administration, inquiring. And in that particular meeting, I found out some cans and some cannots, but I never found out the will-dos. Some things that we can do, some things we cannot do, but most importantly, the reason why that was addressed is that I, Carl Harding, and several other people was not comfortable because we did not get enough information. And so after that particular meeting, there was a certain amount of time that passed by, and I still don't have the information. I have some information, but then that information that I need, and then I want to actually look at the fact just because I'm a messenger, don't overlook my message. Just because I must say I was in attendance with Mr. Pleasure and in that particular in Baton Rouge, it's not about District 1 and District 2. It's about the members of Terrebonne Parish, the citizens of Terrebonne Parish, the underserved and low to moderate income, and all above and beyond. So to actually get the information when those changes, we have a deadline that's coming up for November to have the application submitted. And then I'm sticking to my guns with the fact that no one up here can tell me whether, I guess you could now. The point was, when I got to Baton Rouge in that meeting, I was not aware that kayaks were being taken out. When I got in the meeting in Baton Rouge, I was not aware that the amphitheater was being taken out of there. So we were going to be required to we accepted certain aspects of the application earlier, but then the changes about that, we were not aware of it. And I can actually honestly say that one of the things that I didn't feel comfortable with is the fact that sometimes we get caught up in the voting for this and voting for that. And all honesty, that was used against me, in my opinion. Because if I voted for the people, for it to come to the people, that was the thing. Well, I voted for it. So I'm very cautious about what I'm voting for up here. So I'm going to be very cautious about what I'm doing up here to protect the people. So what we want to do here, I would suggest to my colleagues, ask questions. Be mindful of what you're actually saying that you're agreeing to, because just like we have this up here, that was a backup to it. So when I got the presentation, I only got what the people would see. I didn't see the backup. So we don't know the circumstances that we are dealing with and having to vote on and not know what we're voting on. And that is my point. So I actually tried to bring this up. Unfortunately, my delivery was a little bit different because I thought the parish president was going to be here, and it was. I can only speak for what I witnessed in there. There was some rubbing of the edges, but then those rubbing of the edges was actually because personalities were clashing. And so those personalities are clashing. We went all the way to Baton Rouge, and then we still got the same problem because I don't know what the changes are going to be. I'm not going to vote for nothing that I don't know nothing about. I don't have no backup and don't have no input to. And I want my colleagues to understand that, because we are asking for something to actually read before you shove the November 30th deadline on here, and we don't have enough research on information to actually have where is this $117 million is going. What are the changes? There are some changes to be made, and I would love to see who the changes are, because I want to know what meeting you went in and that I was not invited to. So it's not about District 1, it's not about District 2. It's about the underserved communities in Terrebonne Parish and making sure it's fair and equitable distribution. I got people down in Gibson that need sewage. I got people in Johnson Ridge that need sewage. I can't go to any places and be the lavish part of it when I got people that are in need. And I just can't see a lot of wasting, in my opinion, a lot of money. And I found out I was wrong about some things because they were not applied to how to how can I help someone raise their property to save them from paying $70,000 when the insurance company is requiring them to actually put that money up. I was trying to get some of that. I wasn't looking for nobody having a mighty good time. I'm trying to find out how we put more people in the houses by how to extend Section 8 projects, how to assist people and to get their properties put into their to one package where they can actually have an opportunity to get a clear title, because those people that don't have a clear title, they can't even get assistance from FEMA. So we're looking to actually try to take the money to help the people. Hey, look, it's all right to have a lot of festivals, but there's some people that would shun me for doing a lot of dancing when they can't use the P word. So I would yield to Ms. McNaris, and
She had this issue on her speaker card.
she had it on the speaker card. So here it is. And yes, I was in the company of that, and I would like to have Ms. McNaris speak up on this.
Once again, please state your name and address just for the record on this issue.
Suzette Bagneris, my business address is 1120 Lafayette Street in Houma. Mr. Chairman, you said early on in this evening, if you don't put yourself out there, change cannot be implemented. So having looked at the public plan of what applications were going to be submitted for the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Funds, we saw that there were some gaps, and we were concerned that some of the underserved population of Terrebonne Parish, not just District 1 and 2, but some of the down bayou areas, did not have specific allocations in the plan. So we started to raise questions, and specifically I went to the town hall meeting that Carl Harding had, and I asked Terrebonne Parish government, is it too late for us to submit ideas to be included in the plan? And at that meeting, I was told, no, input is welcomed. Give us your input. Then I came to a council meeting 2 weeks later, and I asked again, how do we go about submitting some ideas to put into the plan before the application deadline? And at that meeting, I was told, it's too late. Well, being inquisitive, I called the Office of Community Development and started asking some questions about the deadline. And I was told that it was not too late, that there was still time for this community to collaborate, to work together, and to develop a cohesive plan that would be a fair and equitable distribution of the $117 million. And I was told the deadline was November 30th. I followed up that telephone conversation with a letter to the Office of Community Development and asked for a meeting with parish leadership and with the Office of Community Development so that they could explain to parish leadership that there was still time to work together to put together a plan, applications that would cover the entire parish and give more specifics on exactly where these projects that were being proposed were actually going to be sited. So at that meeting, we were told that it was not too late and that there was a lot of overlap in the plan that we submitted on the programs that we'd like to see implemented and the plan that the parish was already working on. The director of the Office of Community Development saw overlap in the plan. And she said, the good news is y'all are on the same page on a lot of things. Get together and see if you can work together to integrate some of the programs and projects that you want to see implemented in the applications that are going to be submitted on November 30th. The director suggested that we form a subcommittee where we can all get together and talk about what's going to actually go into the applications. She asked that we schedule a meeting where all sides get together and discuss the projects that we proposed, which we had in writing and had sent to the parish prior to the meeting with the Office of Community Development, and the projects that the parish was going to implement, because she saw the overlap. After the meeting, we did not receive any communication in response from parish government until October 14th, 2024, when I received a letter from the parish president that acknowledged overlap, acknowledged alignment, and said there were areas that we could indeed work together on and that he could see room for in the applications that the parish was going to submit. There were some areas that he said were rejected because they didn't qualify for funding under the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery funding, but he said there might be other funding coming to the parish that might cover those programs. So I leave hopeful that there will be action stemming from the letter received on October 14th, 2024. We've acknowledged alignment, and we have acknowledged that there are underserved areas of the parish that are not currently being included in the plan. And we asked, as Councilman Harding just said, to see the applications before they are submitted and to have an opportunity to give input on the applications before they are submitted on the November 30th deadline. That was not granted in the letter. So still, standing before you today, we don't know specifically where the projects are going to be implemented. And if you don't know where they're going to be and exactly what those projects are, how can you as a parish council vote yay or nay on them? How do you know that your constituents are covered by the plan if you don't get to see the applications before they're submitted on November the 30th? So I would ask the parish council to please make sure that this process is very transparent, make sure that it's very inclusive, and please let the public see these intended projects and the applications before they are submitted on November 30th. I would encourage the parish council to take heed to the suggestions from the Office of Community Development's director that you form a subcommittee on this issue, that you schedule meetings on this issue so that everyone on the parish council knows what the projects are and where they're going to be cited, and that you share the applications prior to submission. Just for those who have not seen our proposal that was sent to the parish president, what the things we asked for were community centers throughout the parish, elderly care centers where our elderly would have a place to go, where they could have activities. We asked for those community centers to be utilized to provide health care to the public, to provide job training and education and GED programs and drug counseling and address the opioid problem that the parish is handling. We suggested partnering with Delgado to be able to provide job training and reentry training. The programs we suggested are meaningful. And I suggest to you they are more meaningful than street striping downtown. While I appreciate a pretty stripe on the street, I think we have bigger issues to take care of in Terrebonne Parish. And I think these resiliency centers could be the key to addressing a lot of the social issues that you're facing in the parish. So, I think that we need to work together. I think we need to look at some of the things that are on there. Like Councilman Harding said, when we went to the meeting, kayaks were still on the proposal. Well, I appreciate a kayak. I don't know too many poor kids that get to kayak, and I don't know if that's a priority, okay? I don't know if historic downtown getting a facelift is important when people in gray don't have sewerage, okay? I'm just not too sure that our priorities are aligned with really addressing the needs of the underserved population of this parish. And please don't get caught up on the fact that you think it's just District 1 and District 2 that we're here advocating for. No, it's down by you. It's down by you. It's people in gray. It's people that, come to my office every day just saying they're having problems finding decent housing. So, maybe these community development block grant funds are not the answer to all the ills that the parish faces. But if we work together on $117 million coming into the parish, may it will be the start of collaborative effort to find other money together to address the ills of the parish. So I'm standing before you, putting myself out there, Mr. Chairman, advocating for change and hoping that we can work together to do that. Thank you.
Ms. Bagnares, just so you can be confident in the fact that your plan was sent to every council member. So we did have copies of that. And again, thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Mr. Lee?
So I first want to start off with a section of the application for the community resiliency centers. Exact locations for community resiliency centers will be identified through a strategic planning process, ensuring that the resources are geographically distributed amongst low-income communities across the parish. I mean, as everybody knows, this has been online since day one. You can go to tpcg.org/recovery. Everything that Chris and I did before myself, President Bergeron, and Noah took office when he came in, all of this has been online since day one, going back all the way to the beginning. Every step they've taken has been online. So even with doing these community centers, it's not like administration is going to go and cherry pick here, 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 and here. A group's going to come in, look at the maps provided by CBDG of the low income areas, look at the centers that already service areas, and pick those areas. We won't pick. They're going to pick based on that. Also, it was said that nothing was being done for the lower areas. only 6 applications have been submitted so far. 3 have been approved. The Stormwater Master Plan, the Aviation Workforce Program, Bayou Terrebonne Pump Station. Submitted was the Bayou Black Pump Station, the Wastewater Master Plan, and the Support the Seafood Industry, which I would expect would support you work directly. Also, I was at the meeting. She is referencing that she asked President Bergeron if she could submit plans to. She did not specify CBDG DR when she asked her question, and he did absolutely ask her that if she had anything she wanted to partner with, to bring it to him. And just to kind of, he's not here tonight, and I hate to even have to speak for him. He took his disabled son to Children's. And we sit here, and multiple times it has been said, I wish he was here. Where is he? He should speak. That's what he's doing tonight. I got his wife texting me right now, completely distraught, because it was said multiple times that he should be here tonight. And I agree with that. He should try to make some of these meetings. But I think he did the right thing tonight. I think he did. He picked the right thing tonight. And look, we get up here and we understand tonight was a rough night. We had the stuff with the insurance, but I feel like everything's been done correctly. Someone's only got into the CBDGR in the last 9-10 months. Nobody doesn't want to partner with anyone. All right, I've been at all of these meetings. I've been at every town hall but one, including the one Mr. Carl put on. I try to go to everything I can, be involved in every meeting I can. I don't think anyone wants not to have the resiliency stuff done or have any of the DR stuff done. Also want to state that earlier, Mr. Pledger, you said when the reallocation happened, you didn't vote for it. October 11th, 2023. The only person who didn't vote yay was Gerald Michel because he was absent. You did vote for the reallocation. Everyone up here did. We said we were being honest, exactly what you said.
Point of information. That is not what I said, Mr. Robbie Lee. I was talking about my Budget and Finance Committee meeting on the other night. Am I right in that, Miss Candace? That I was referencing?
Not paying attention.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, my
Appreciate
apologies.
it.
My
Thank you.
apologies. I thought you were referencing the
Yield the
budget
floor to you
amendment.
now.
I thought you were talking about the budget amendment here where you said you didn't vote for it. It was voted for it. Everyone up here that was with the previous administration voted for it. I think a lot of us are trying to do the right thing here,
Just to be
including everyone here. If they have any questions about the CBDGR stuff, I've already talked to Jason. I've already talked to Noah. If y'all want to see the applications, we're going to start working on it. If that's all y'all need to help move this along forward, move it faster, we're going to work on it.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Mr. Pledger?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I really do appreciate Mr. Lee sharing the sentiments. I really, really do. If there's anybody that don't want to be here right now, it's myself. It's my birthday, and my wife of 20-plus years is waiting on me. But guess what? Those 11,000 people I represent, part of Terrebonne Parish, they're more important than my birthday. Okay? So with that being said, Mr. Lee, we're looking for a pity party. This is the big boy game here. This is taking care of people. I don't care what we got going on. This is more important to me right here. And I have a question for you since you misinterpreted what I said, and I understand we do that from time to time. But I would like to ask you, who's they that's going to choose for those community centers? Who's they?
A committee would be formed. They would hire an outside contractor that has nothing to do with us. So they
Well-
can come in and note and figure out who those areas are.
Who better to tell us in Terrebonne Parish where a community center or where resiliency centers belong, contractors, we're going to spend money for somebody to tell us, no, we should be doing that. Us, right here.
There's only $6 million for that one item. You will not be able to get a civic. You're not saying that's the thing. It's like Miss Kim has a huge low income area. So does Mr. Steve. Where does that line stop? Who gets to decide? Everyone. Mr. Danny has a low income area.
I totally get that, Mr. Lee, but what you're saying is we have to accept what's given, and that's it. Well, I tell you what, we took $1 million. Hold on, we took $1 million from Village East. Right? We're not going to decide which one is going to be first because that one should be first because it was already allocated at some point.
Y'all voted on it. And I get that. I get the money was taken and you maybe didn't read the backup to understand what the money was moving from. But you were one of the individuals who voted on that item. I've been doing this a long time. A long time. You voted on that. You had the choice. You could have stand up here and you could have made your argument to your other 8 council members. You didn't. You voted on it and the money got moved to buy the Whitney Bank building. How is that an individual's fault who just came in 10 months ago?
There we go. There we go. I get it totally. I get it totally. And I hate
But
to hold
he's here,
everybody up.
he's here trying to help you out. I know multiple times I know he's asked you, if you want to partner together with something, let's partner together. Bring it to my table. We'll try to figure it out. I've seen him say it here. I've seen him say it to you in person. I've seen him say it to every other council member here. What project you have? Bring it to him. I know he has projects from the meeting y'all had that y'all want to do that that man will try to figure out how to do. Whether it's through CBDGR or through another way or we go through capital outlay. He's going to figure it out. Let's give him a little bit of grace.
Finish? You good? Okay. I can really appreciate your passion and what you're doing. I really can. But at the same time, if there's 11,000 people that I represent and they were all in here, it would be pretty loud. So guess what? Since they're not here, I have to be pretty loud. And the rest of these council people have to be loud too as well. All right? And this is not just me issue, our District 1 issue, as they've stated before. Do you know where Shrimpers Row is?
I do.
Do you know where Bayou du Large is?
I do.
Do you know where Soleil Court is?
I don't know where that's at.
Do you know where Roselawn is?
I do.
Do you know where Levittown is?
I do not.
Exactly. We're the pros here because we represent those people. You do not, again.
But you're
okay?
one of 9.
I gave you a chance, Mr. Lee. I gave you a chance. I understand the parish president is not here, but another one of the falsehoods that I need to put on record that you mentioned was we were saying where he was at. We didn't ask that, and I didn't hear it not once until you said it. So let's make sure in your defense, you're defending someone who's being attacked. We're not attacking the parish president at all. We're conveying what we want as representatives for our people. And for you to sit here and portray us as the villain or as the attackers.
I didn't say us. Not one time did I say everyone up there.
Again,
Not one time.
I gave you a chance,
All right.
Mr. Lee.
All right, let Mr. Pledger finish his comment.
Again, I applaud you for your efforts, but at the same time, we shouldn't have other folks making a decision on information we give them to be able to decide what goes where. That should come collectively in a cohesive manner from all of us and the administration as well. We had a meeting in Baton Rouge as noted. You were not there, or maybe you were, and I didn't see you. But at the same time, that meeting, which OCD suggested to us, that we should have a follow-up meeting such as what Ms. Bagnaris mentioned. From there, we move forward. It's all about the American way, and Terrebonne Parish is part of America, and we should get our way.
Thank you, Mr. Pledger. Mr. Harding?
Oh, well, I'll speak after Ms. Bagnaris. She's a visitor.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to make it very clear that I have not attempted to disparage the parish president in any way. I'm simply recounting the events as they have occurred, and I'm asking that we please work collaboratively to come up with the best plan that suits all the underserved populations of Terrebonne Parish, and that we pinpoint specifically where the projects are going to go when we submit the applications, and that everyone gets an opportunity to read the applications before they're submitted. I think that's transparency in government. That's the democratic process. And that's really all we're asking for. I also want to be very clear that we did not mention anything about the parish president's absence. and I find what he's doing tonight to be admirable. I also appreciate, as I stated in my comments, his letter of October 14, 2024. And I saw that as a step in the right direction. I just needed some follow-up steps to it, such as a meeting, getting an opportunity to see the applications, and making sure that the applications are all inclusive for the entire parish. And I don't think that's too much to ask. And so I just want to be very clear. We appreciate the hard work going into this. Having done it in Katrina, I get it. Okay? Took us 15 years to rebuild in New Orleans. I know the process. I know the pain. My entire family lost everything in Katrina and had to start over. So I get what you're going through. And I'm hoping that that experience that I've had doing that can benefit you in the process. And that's why I questioned the deadline, because I knew it wasn't a hard and fast deadline based on my experience. So anyway, I'm here to help. I want to work with you all. And I really wish all of Terrebonne Parish the best and swift recovery that it can have, having been there. We're still trying to recover in New Orleans.
Thank you, Ms. McNair. Mr. Harding.
So hopefully, I can close this out by saying this. Number one, we were not aware about the situation. And generally, what we do up here, if someone is going to be absent, we're very much aware of it. I understand the respect that we actually give one person to another person when they have something going on that's within their family. And I appreciate it. I think, you know what I mean, I would have done the same thing myself, but it's just unfortunate when we actually speak about the administration, it does not speak about just one person. It's talking about the whole operation. So this part of government and this part of the government has to work hand in hand. In my opinion, we give some length of time to actually get that second meeting. The other part, just like you pull up a person's voting record, and I actually say, so now I'm more accountable, hella more accountable, because it can be used, when you try to do a good thing, it could be used against you. So therefore, I'm letting my colleagues up here, let them know, read before you act, because it can be used against you, and be mindful of what you're voting for and not voting for. So my request is to try to get the information to my colleagues so they can make the best decision, because Mr. Babin said he had low to moderate income. Mr. Trustclair, Ms. Chauvin, and I might add, Ms. Bagnaris can be a witness of it. And I'm going to say this and I'm going to conclude. They said, well, why is it so much money going to the shrimpers industry? I said, well, we're not going to mess with that. I'm straight up telling you, honest to goodness truth, we're not going to mess with that.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? Because the people that we're trying to help are low to moderate income people that shrimping is their life and trapping is their lives. Everybody on that coast, we had in consideration of it. So it's not just to say, like Ms. Batnaris is saying, it's not just because I'm the messenger and I'm so good looking, I look like this, you know? Sometimes people cannot accept, I'm going to say this and be done. I hate to bring myself to this point, because I'm actually saying it. There are some people that are out there that think it's automatically wrong. And I got my heart in Terrebonne Parish. Don't think just because I'm the messenger, I'm the one trying to bring about change, that I'm wrong. I just want everybody to be informed. And then we can make out, I'm not saying, hey, look, Steve, vote for this, or Kim, vote for that. I just want you to make an honest decision when you cast your vote for your people. And I want the opportunity in that meeting. And like Mr. Pledger said, we don't need no outsiders to come over here and tell them. We just actually supported a local company. We don't need no outsiders to come here and tell us how we run Terrebonne Parish. That's why we got elected officials. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harding. Item 8, vacancies to various boards, committees, and commissions. A, Recreation District Number 2-3 Board, 1 expired term. Coteau Fire Protection District Board, 1 expired term. Children and Youth Services Board, 2 expiring terms on 11/16/24, each representing the following faith-based organization and Terrebonne Parish Juvenile Justice Detention Center, and 3 expired terms, each representing one of the following: Bayou Area Children Foundation, Gulf Coast Teaching and Family Services, and Houma Police Department. Downtown Development Corporation, 3 expiring on 11/1/24, each representing one of the following: 2 representing the council and 1 representing the Chamber of Commerce, and 3 expired terms, each representing one of the following entities: 1 representing the Parish Council, 1 representing the Historical Society, and 1 representing Downtown Merchants. Municipal Civil Service Board, 1 expired term representing the council and 1 vacancy due to resignation representing the council, nominated by Nicholls State University. Terrebonne Parish Tree Board, 1 expired term and 1 vacancy due to resignation. Veterans Memorial District Board, 1 vacancy due to resignation representing the parish president south of the Intracoastal. TITA, 2 expired terms, each representing one of the following: Terrebonne Parish Council and the parish president. Board of Adjustments, 1 expired term. Coastal Zone Management and Restoration, 3 expiring terms on 10/31/24, 1 representing marine navigation, 1 representing the oil industry, and 1 representing flood concerns appointed by the parish president. Houma Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, 1 expiring term on 12/31/24, representing a civic nonprofit. Library Board of Control, 3 expiring terms on 11/14/24. Planning Commission, 2 expiring terms on 11/29/24. Announcements, Mr. Learet, do y'all have any announcements for the parish president?
I think we got Rougarou Fest this weekend. It's a great festival, big one. Go out and check it out. I'd like to say that appreciate every one of y'all. Look forward to working together to keep moving forward. And I know these are tough conversations sometimes, but at the end of the day, this is what it's all about, and we need to have them. So appreciate y'all. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Learet. Council members, Mr. Kevin Champagne.
Yeah, I just want to congratulate my daughter. She passed the bar last week, and we'll be practicing. Just what we need, another attorney in the world, but she'll be practicing in Baton Rouge.
Thank you, Mr. Champagne. Mr. Harding.
And seriously speaking, my heart goes out to Jason and his family, and really, politics, that's a human side of politics. So, if everybody out there didn't get it, you know, understand what I'm saying? Hopefully they get the fact that, I'm praying for him and hope for the best of whatever situation he and his family is in. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harding. Mr. Pleasure.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to thank my beautiful wife. I'll take a rain check on dinner tonight, and I owe you dinner. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Pleasure. Now it's my turn to tell a funny story. Yesterday, my wife and I celebrated 42 years of marriage. You know where? At a town hall meeting, because she mistakenly advertised it as last night instead of next Tuesday, but I love her anyway. All right, do I have a motion adjourned? Motion adjourned, seconded by Ms. Chauvin, seconded by Mr. Troster. Members, vote your machines.
Well, I guess I'll say.